Blah, blah. A word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes as well as entering spoiler territory. If you aren't caught up with us yet, we're doing this every episode from now on. This is the new spoiler and explicit warning. The spoilers this episode will be, and I do actually have to double check which chapter it starts at. I believe it's the Gates of Babylon through the Enigma of Hours.
Hey there, this is Cross.
This is Josh again.
And we are Words and Whiskey, a podcast for veteran and novice readers alike. We tackle fiction novels and love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club.
I'm drunk already.
You're drunk? I mean, you just...
No, I'm not. I had half a shot so far.
Fast.
I haven't
Did you
eaten
have
in
beer
4 days.
for dinner?
Yeah.
It's worth noting that we did say that we were going to be recording these episodes back to back and cutting this in half, and that is obviously not the case, as we are dressed differently and it is a different time of day.
And I am older than I was then. So.
You were always older than you were before.
Sure, but I have visibly aged after the day I had today.
Ah, yes.
So.
Quite. Photograph is always of you when you were younger.
Yes. Whoa. Shit. That feels like some shit Hadrian would really think was cool.
It's a Mitch Hedberg joke for sure. Poorly paraphrasing.
I feel like you could go through almost every Mitch Hedberg joke and write a Hadrian monologue off of it, you know? Like a Hadrian, nothing happens in this chapter off of it.
Oh, man, you totally could. One of my favorites is like, I have so much tartar on my teeth, I don't have to dip my fish sticks in shit. And like, I've just imagined the Hadrianism now.
I think my two favorite Mitch Hedberg jokes are I love rice because sometimes you're not that hungry, but you want a million of something.
Yeah.
And then I went to the donut shop and I got myself a donut and they asked if I wanted a receipt. And I said, no, thank you. I cannot think of a situation in which I would need to prove that I purchased a donut. I don't know why those two stick with me so much.
Yeah. But why do you make your plants hard to reach? That seems so very mean.
Oh, man. R.I.P. the goat.
Yeah, no, actually, genuinely one of my favorite comedians. We used to listen to that particular short at dinner as a family.
Incredible.
Like we would just like every like month or so.
You know,
so
my family also
memorized.
had like just would play like a seed, like a. I mean, we were pretty religious, so it was always like clean comedy. But we would just put on a CD of comedy instead of like hanging out or watching TV. And that's like actually one of my nice growing up memories. Brian Regan was like a staple. I don't even know if he's actually funny, but you know, we liked him
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. All right. Well, cool. Well, obviously today is our 4th episode talking about Christopher Rocchio's Howling Dark. With that, we're going to be talking about the Gates of Babylon through the Enigma Hours. The vibes. Man,
Christopher Rocchio loves Blade Runner and people love Hadrian's blood.
People really like that blood.
He's got, I mean, one guy makes a really good point. He's got some pretty eyes, you know?
He does. He's like, ooh, I would love to wear those eyes.
I'm gonna wear your eyes, boy. You know, it's like, whoa, okay. I don't like that.
Especially considering the description of that guy's eyes, which we'll get to.
Yeah, we can talk about some. There's some cool fucking character designs in this section. We're finally in the wacky shit. Like, I feel like this is what the first book is lacking. It's why I honed in so much, and I will never stop talking about Saltus, is because he's like one of our 2 wacky boys, like our weird shit. Like, and we are just now, everything is weird shit. Everything is wacky. Saltus could be here and nobody would even notice, you know, like.
It's very true. I mean, I think it's very clear at this point. I'm sorry, I'm also pouring the little bit of my beer that's left here at the same time.
It's all right. You made a good point. I gotta.
That it feels very clear to me within this segment that Rocchio, and great little can rep, is very inspired by anime. Like, this is where it becomes more clear that he loves 90s, you know, like. He is our
Yeah.
age. It's a careful reminder that he
Right.
definitely probably saw everything on Toonami, in the same way. or
Yeah,
in
I
the
don't
same
know if this is
regards,
Gundam or Cowboy Bebop, but it's not neither.
or Evangelion. It's like
Yeah,
a
of
little bit of
course.
everything. Akira, obviously,
For sure.
being-
Oh, super Akira, but
yeah. And whether or not those are like manga or anime, either way, very clearly.
yeah, someone will be mad about the distinction, but they'll be like, actually,
Well,
he never watched the manga or
that's what I'm
anime. He
saying,
only
yeah.
read the manga.
Right. Yeah. And I've listened to a lot of Christopher Rocchio interviews, and I know that he watched anime, but I don't want to be corrected on one of those, maybe that he read and didn't watch or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That'll be the thing that brings you down, brings this whole thing crashing down around us.
And it's not that I don't mind learning the information or being corrected, for the record, when I'm wrong.
Heard it here first, folks. Get in the comments.
The problem is that when that happens, the corrections always flow. So I've been corrected on Darrow's height from episode 3 of our podcast, like over 1,000 times.
It
And
becomes
that's
a
not
bit to
joke.
correct you on it.
And I think within like the 2 or 3 episodes later, it had started to flow in, and people had started to correct me, and I was like, "Yo, I
he's actually 3
corrected this
meters,
an episode or 2 ago, and I'm sorry. Need to apologize for that. Also, just
How
be
tall is he?
careful." Oh my
Come
god!
on, right
I do
now,
not want to
do it.
curse myself again.
Yep.
I
How
want
tall
to
is
say
he?
6'7",
Like,
and that actually doesn't feel right because that's PJ's height. I might be 6'9".
I feel like he's got to be taller than PJ, right?
Yeah. I think we joked about that.
Yeah.
But-
okay. So
I think
is
the
he
joke is taller than
6'7" or is
PJ.
he 69? You know, like
69?
which one?
He's taller than PJ, but shorter than one of PJ's cousins, I think was the bit.
Oh my God.
Um,
What? Who is PJ's
like
family
PJ's a
breeding
couple
with?
of like 6'11" cousins.
What the fuck?
They're like mythological giants.
Yeah,
It's just PJ's family.
Right whenever I get over the dragons were actually a real conspiracy theory, I meet PJ and I'm like, okay, but if giants exist, why not? Oh, speaking of which, weird side tangent, but I randomly started kind of being friends with a bartender in town that is like maybe taller than PJ, and I caught him reading Malazan. So like, if we need a guest at any point for some weird books, apparently he reads all of them. So yeah.
Nice, that's fun.
Just to bring back the PJ height,
Absolutely, we love.
If we ever
that.
need a tall
we gotta
guy
bring
again.
up the average. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. That said, Josh, before we get into this, because this is one of these kind of funky half-episodes, let's talk about our
Half-episodes.
cocktails on the front.
Yeah, I'll talk about my cocktail.
Cocktail?
Yeah, I didn't type any of that shit down. I will do that.
Yeah, me neither.
It was a stress to get here. I am actually really glad I was down. I hadn't even tried the cocktail I had planned whenever we were going to do it as one, so I didn't know it was bad. It turned out bad, but it gave me all the ideas on how to fix it. It's basically a margarita,
Cool.
but it is my
Ooh.
Sanguine Cielsen sampler. It's Cielsen blood is what I'm going for here, and it is you got your ounce of fresh lime juice, you've got your ounce and a half of Blanco tequila, and then you've got your instead of triple sec, we go blue carousel. That makes sense. Everything up to here. But then I did a black pepper and blackberry simple syrup, and it rocks.
Ooh. Yum. Awesome. That sounds really tasty.
So it gets this nice deep purple with like a little bit of the red hue because of the blackberries turn kind of red whenever you muddle them.
Mhm.
And it feels nice. and
It looks
nice.
great. Yeah,
it's
it looks-
actually really good. The last one looked really good and sucked because I went for like a blackberry puree and it was just all seeds. But
Yeah. That's always tough because it's like you want to muddle something, but I always find it better to just make a syrup. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
muddle like maybe a couple. To give
well,
it
I
like
didn't
a-
muddle anything into it. I muddled a bunch into the syrup and then
Right,
strained the muddle. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, in general, I'm always like, I'd rather reinforce with the syrup and then like garnish with a muddle of something that's like light,
Precisely.
Back half, but do you have a back half beer? Anything crazy?
Oh, yeah, my back half beer is a little diddly called I believe it's inspired by The Who. Because it's Meet the New Beer, same as the old beer. It's the same beer I had last time.
Oh, nice.
The Visitor by
Good one.
Society.
Very cool. I'm having sort of a mainstay on the channel in general, the Saison from Flytrap. They sell it in bottles. I had a bottle in the fridge. I was like, ooh, that sounds good. Just, a Belgian stylish, and it's delightful. It is the only beer that they produce that they bottle. So they don't otherwise can or do anything else outside of Crowlers. So
You have a reliable car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like whenever we do an episode in person, it'll probably be flying one of us to the other and then vice versa. But it would be so cool to drive to the middle with just cases of West Coast and East Coast beer.
It would be very cool
In the back.
Yeah.
And I'd be
happen
down.
somehow.
I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can fly with beer. That's not a problem. I've flown with beer before.
You are allowed to fly with beer if it's
in a checked bag.
In a checked bag. I have had many beers not make it and ruin
so you,
the things
you do
in
have
my
to pack
bag.
them very precisely.
Okay, yes.
And I've done that. And PJ and I have both been fortunate enough to not lose any.
Okay.
However, my dad has, but he was the one of whom lost stuff and then was like, this is how I figured out how to do it more.
It wasn't even beer. Just all of my Ren Fair clothes smell like tequila permanently after the Texas Ren Fair. So, yeah. So shit happens.
Speaking of tequila, I'm calling this TX9. You may view it as a perfectly clear cocktail because it is all clear ingredients. It is a tequila old fashioned, basically, with 2 spritzes of absinthe in the glass as opposed to bitters. So, around the glass. But then in total, there's about 1/10 of an ounce of simple syrup, 1/10 of an ounce of green chartreuse, and 1/10 of an ounce of maraschino. And that's basically used as the sweetener. And so it's got like a little bit of herbalness there to round out the Blanco. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's basically just like a modified,
Yeah, it's like not quite a Oaxacan, but
yeah, right, exactly. It's right there.
Yeah. Man, we made some good cocktails this week.
Tequila.
I think.
Yeah.
Simple good cocktails, which in my opinion are better than overly complicated good cocktails. Unless you're talking about a tiki drink, then make it as weird as possible.
Right. Go fucking banana nuts. I did actually buy some allspice ram, monkey shoulder, and a couple of other things because I do want to make some fucking crazy cocktails coming up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Me and my good friend Brandon, you've met him. People here don't know him. We've got plans to go to this tiki bar we really like that we never get to go to together, and I think I'm gonna go there and be like, it's time to buy tiki stuff. So
yeah, it's nice. I've got a couple of both tiki rums and a couple of tiki glasses. So I haven't shown off that many on the podcast, partially because sometimes I want to show off like the cocktail physically, like what it looks like.
Right, it's hard with the tiki glass because it covers it.
But sometimes you use the tiki glass because it's all brown. Because when you mix all that shit, sometimes it's just brown.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, when you put the lime and the coconut, shake it all up.
Yeah, the pineapple juice. All right. Well, with that, I think we can get into the episode itself. Here, we'll start off with the gates of Babylon, of course. Hadrian has an almost crazed moment here as he realizes that he can't turn back as he's chasing some ghost to El Dorado, this sort of like legendary, kind of thing, and referencing it therein. But Atavia is having absolutely none of that.
Yeah. There's some fun lines. If this is, I did a second listen, but it's still all a bit muddy. Where
there's
things
a lot of mists and teeth.
Yeah. Is this where he's talking about like those pirates like that probably died looking for the Fountain of Youth?
Yeah,
and were convinced it was there until. Yeah.
It's threaded throughout. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. He's like, I'm going and I know I'm right. And they probably knew they were right too whenever they died of syphilis looking for the Fountain of Youth. So I don't know if he says syphilis, but
No, I think he does.
I think I just know they died of syphilis.
Well, he specifically says, I wonder if old De Leon still believed dying of poison in his promised land, that there was yet some power to save him. I like to think that he did.
That's definitely syphilis. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Right. Right. But poison, like one of those things that like changed over time. It's like, no. It was the madness, the brain madness. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really fucking love this section. Just because I like pirate stuff. And I think that's the line specifically that you just said that reminded me. I had the thought of, was he dying of poison in his promised land, as in like he got to the promised land and he died of some sort of poison? Because I read it in a dumb innuendo way where the poison was in his promised land, which is why I went syphilis. um, so
That's good. That's good. That is kind of an innuendo-y spin on it, but like
I think I'm overreading that, but like
I don't know. That is
it's
kinda,
just the first spot my
kinda
brain
good.
went.
Yeah.
like with a poisoned promised land.
Yeah, that is actually clever, and Rockio is often clever like that. I just didn't catch that. You're probably right, to be honest. That like that's an intended Easter egg for us from Rockio, probably not from Hadrian, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know. That line, I listened to it on my first time and I'm like, probably syphilis. And then like on my second time, I was like, that's actually a really funny line if he is referring to syphilis, how most pirates died.
Yeah, for some reason I can't remember if Ponce de Leon did die from syphilis.
I don't know. I just know that most pirates died of STIs, you know, so or dehydration usually, but those kind of go hand in hand sometimes.
Yeah. No, obviously a ton of them did. And I live in what, like, my area of the United States is particularly notable for being like the place where a lot of the pirates died because the coast was so crazy. Literally called Cape Fear.
Oh, man.
Yeah, for a very clear reason. But it appears as though he died from an infection and wounds in this case.
But where were the wounds? What kind of wounds?
This is a fair question.
What caused the wounds, Cross? If I died from sword fighting other pirates, I'd be like, tell them I died of my wounds.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% what you would do. I want to also say that I just love the vibes of this. It sets like a very eerie tone kind of going into this. And I know we mentioned last week that there's like this almost eldritch sense about the story, or like Lovecraftian tone. And I don't mean that necessarily from like there's some spookier Cthulhu beings like living in the background here. I mean it from like the way that Lovecraft created sort of this sense of fear and dread very casually.
Yeah. There's a casual sense of fear and dread, and also I would say to like give credence to the Lovecraftian approach, there is a lot of description in this entire section that is kind of intended to give you the idea that this goes beyond like human understanding and reckoning, which is very Lovecraftian. You know, like Hadrian's explaining it, and yeah, these are like machines created by men that are men, but like especially where we end this section should like stretch the parameters of what your mind can like handle, you know? So I definitely feel Lovecraft in this house tonight, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely something otherworldly about that 100-mile long ship, you know?
Ooh, I didn't like it. I didn't like that it was open in the front. You know?
Not even to mention the mechanical spider that we will talk about.
It's like, close that.
Right. It's like, wait a minute. What's happening here? You will be ejected against your will.
Yes. I love, and we'll talk about it when we get there, but the only ways that I kept going back and forth. I either love Space Esquire from Expedition 33, or he's also kind of robot Brother Longfoot in a certain weird way. But that might just be the accents used.
I can take either of those. I think I would throw in just more childlike Chappie, frankly. Because he's supposed to have like the voice of a little boy, you know. He's supposed to be like a young boy, and
we'll
that's
talk
kind of
about
freaky.
it more when we get there. But there are two parts in this entire section that to me are rare misses from Rukin.
Yeah, that's fair. I was actually talking about this in our Discord. There are some small inconsistencies with Rukin that you really pick up on only when like you've read more of the series and you go back. Because like it does change some accents and some pronunciations. I think Izzy also got corrected on some things. So
yeah, there's specifically a line, and it might be in this chapter, but it might not be, where I don't know if the book repeats itself in a really awkward way, but the audiobook does, but like with slightly different wording, but there's no emphasis to be like, I repeated this on purpose, and it feels so
It was
awkward.
this versus that. Yeah.
Well, it was like, I thought this absolved me. And then like says another thing, I thought this absolved me. And like there was no like if you were like, oh, um he's not he whenever he's talking about the blood with the deal, he's like, but like Tanaran isn't human and I felt this absolved me.
Mm.
And maybe they don't even know what to do with the blood, and I felt like this absolved me. And I'm like, I feel like if I read that, I'd be like, I felt like this absolved me, and I felt like this absolved me, like
I'll
there'd be
double
like
check that when we get there. Yeah.
some sort of like distinction. But every time, both listens on that read, I was like, did he just say the same two sentences back to back? And then I had to double check, and I was like, no, they're a little different, but there's like no emphasis or change on the second part, and it bugged the shit out of me.
There are a couple of different times in particular that I note, at the very least, where it is Smythe and Smith. He uses once at the beginning of this book. He says Smith instead of Smythe once.
Yeah.
There's just some minor things. Those are bound to happen.
That doesn't change the writing of the book, and he's also an incredible voice actor. But like, I do like to call him out because I don't, besides just talking shit on Hadrian, but it's good writing that I'm talking like. I don't get to complain much, so let me have like, I'm a certified hater. Let me have one thing.
yeah. I mean, also worth pointing out that like, hey, this should like absolutely let people's imposter syndrome just like chill out a little bit, because even people that are incredible fuck up.
Literally the best of the best fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
I've yet to find one from Pacey, but I'm sure if I try really hard, I can.
Oh, there's a name in the sequel trilogy that he doesn't say consistently between book 1 and book 3 that PJ and I caught and freaked out about. Because it's not in book 2, so he doesn't have to say it all the time. It's in my notes somewhere. I'll find it for you. But
like, we're super lucky with the Matt Mercers of the world because they have 400 hours of unscripted content where we can watch and realize they're an idiot, like, and that's great. Also a genius. But it's cool to watch someone fail that is way better than you at stuff. But sometimes whenever I'm listening to these audiobooks as someone who would love to do voiceover narration, and I hone in on when people make mistakes and I'm like, yes, I could do it. They are human.
I could. And this, to get back to the book itself, this is another sci-fi cityscape. We're very back in that mood, right? We see all kinds of people in the crowd with all sorts of technology that sets Hadrian on edge immediately, leading to him to internally recite prayers of old Earth for the first time ever, until he pulls himself out of that sort of rhythm and routine.
Yeah, I think the closer we get to the demons, the more religious Hadrian is realizing he is. Like, he without getting too much into like my life, I think that I've met a lot of people who have deconstructed from whichever religion they were previously ascribed to, that think they're like so deconstructed, and then you talk to them and you're like, you still got a lot of that in there, which is okay, like that's fine. But Hadrian is one of those people. He's like, I never believed in that shit. I'm better than Crispin because he's stupid and believes in the chantry. And then, but it's oh man, it's in there for sure. Like, Hadrian is an old Earth believer somewhere deep in his core. His brain says otherwise, but it's like that Catholic guilt that won't go away, Right. Like,
yeah.
You ever feel guilty for not feeling guilty?
Yeah.
About something, not like a specific something, just in that moment, you're like, I have nothing I feel bad about. I gotta think, because I'm sure I'm doing something wrong.
Oh yeah. As far as like that framing goes, 100%. I definitely experience a lot of faux guilt, I would say, in that way.
Yeah. And that's, I feel like that's the kind of thing that's going on with Hadrian right here. It's like someone whose brain doesn't think that way, but whose body still reacts vividly to the religion they were like so intensely brought up in. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So like, in a horrifying moment, like if you and I were suddenly thrust into the movie Aliens, I mean, I might say the Lord's Prayer on accident.
Oh, I would
like,
for
I might
sure
freak
start
the fuck out and just start like reciting shit that I know,
And also, like, if I, even less than that, like, I think that in a situation, in a tense enough situation to where I saw maybe someone who like simultaneously, just by pure chance, happened to be like a professional contortionist, but they're just in their street clothes, they're just hanging out, and they maybe are also going through somewhat of like a mental stressor situation, and they have a little bit of schizophrenia, and they just start like speaking in tongues and contorting, and like and then they have a seizure, and then they get up, and like I might suddenly be like demon. Like, right. So in that same way where Hadrian's like, these are just people with robot parts. But his body is like, that's a possession right there. Like, I can understand that, you know? If I saw a weird enough thing on the street, I'd be like, is this person possessed? And then I'd have to be like, Josh, come on, come back.
Chill out. This is fine. We're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely get it, you know, on that side of things. It's really interesting. Crim and Switch are also giving Hadrian shit for his lordship title, of course, which is fun. Again, this sort of like, we talked a little bit about this last week, but it became solidly clear in this section that's like, we have characters that are going to be sticking around now.
We have characters.
Yeah, they're like friends that are at the very least a part of everything. So we're keeping them here, and walking through the streets with them is really no different, as they're sort of like, it feels like we're back in that like Colosso bro-y moment. Especially as they comment on the Chantry having the wrong of blood, interfacing with machines really not being that big of a deal. You know, sort of like that intermingling conversation between the group of them.
That line, your Chantry has it wrong. Human blood doesn't thin that easy. Like, I don't know. I thought that was like a really subtle, really quick, hard line. I just sound, human blood doesn't thin that easy. You know, like who we are is stronger than all that. And there is a section in the that we'll go into, that I'll dive into a bit more, but we're like, I don't know if I really agree with Hadrian's take on a lot of this.
Oh no, I wrote down some quotes that I think are really important, and I think that's one of the fun things about Hadrian as a character that we'll talk about when we get there more, is like, we definitely are not intended to agree with everything. Yeah. Not only that, but if you did agree with everything, you would find the man hypocritical, like most humans are. Yeah. Right? Like,
and I think what's interesting about the parts I'm talking about, which are probably where you also write some stuff down, is it is kind of a waxing poetic Hadrian situation, which to me, whenever that happens, that tells me I'm listening to more so the thoughts of modern Hadrian. Right. And I'm like, I still disagree with you on this. And that's always interesting. Yeah.
Right. I think that's really interesting, and we'll definitely get into that more specifically. I don't know. You can obviously see the notes. I don't know how closely reviewed these given that, but I did literally in the next chapter, which is where I pulled my quote from. I was like, I kind of expect a long conversation about this in particular, because it is kind of that sort of thing, right? Where it's like,
it's exactly the section I'm thinking about where you have that note. And I had actually not read forward to that note. I think I had scrolled those notes whenever we were going to do this all at once last time. But that note is exactly correct. If you're listening at home, just know this is the kind of stuff that only patrons usually get. But the note says, I kind of expect a long conversation here. Also, that was a lie. We don't do any of that shit for patrons. But yeah.
Sometimes the stuff that I cut out that's like kind of content related, I'll just shove into the Devil's Cut with like a rough cut.
Okay. Then I was like,
oh, this is appropriate, but like maybe it's too much, for like the regular episode.
Yeah. Mostly what you can expect if you become a patron is just like I send nudes sometimes.
Our last, not this
tasteful.
One, tasteful nudes. Our last, not this one episode, though, of the Devil's Cup was like 53 minutes long or something like that. So it's like a super size.
Oh, no.
We talked for like almost an hour about the combination of things.
Okay, well, Night of the Seven Kingdoms ended.
No, that one was only 20 minutes.
Oh, the one before that. Okay.
I was thinking the one before that on The Lesser Devil, which we recorded for like 55 minutes or something like that. Yeah.
Oops. So the Devil's Cut was longer than the episode?
Almost as long. The episode was actually longer than even I thought it was. It was like 120 or 116, somewhere in that range.
Well, when you're having fun, time flies.
Yeah, it was good.
It felt super short, and I enjoyed it.
It did feel shorter than average, but also there's only so much to say about Crispin, which is totally fine.
As a guy who's me, I think shorter than average is just A-okay sometimes.
God. Sometimes I don't realize that I'm like punting and that you're reaching for the ball and I've already exceeded your reach.
No. Like, I got it. Ah, shit. Well, maybe down here next time. Down here.
Yeah, that said, they quickly determine the best path between the group of them, of course, is to just ask someone if someone is sailing to Vergossos. Just being straight up, being honest, as opposed to like playing ticky-tacky games, and it seems that is probably the right path.
Yeah. We also do kind of like, if I'm not mistaken here, they're like, all right, let's just go asking. And then there's an interesting thing in this next chapter where they go asking, and we cut to what feels like the first person they're asking for us as a reader. There's a line in here, and I don't know if it's Hadrian like playing the game or not, but it feels like they asked a lot of people and it didn't work.
I think so. I think it says you're like the third bone cutter I've been to or something like that.
So like they just start asking, but also, and we'll get to this a little later as well. I was a little surprised, and granted, like I think what was super difficult about the 50 years they've been doing this is finding out where they need to go to get to Vorgosos. And they've finally got that, and it is March Station. But like, I thought it was kind of weird how easy it was for them to just be like, I want to go to Vorgosos. And one guy was like, no, I want to go to Vorgosos. No, I want to go to Vorgosos. Okay, so you're going to talk to a guy at the docks. I want to go to Vorgosos. You got blood? Like, I was like, that should not have taken 50 years for you guys to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger deal is like getting to this weird, obscure station where there isn't, where a sun doesn't have planets yet, you know, which is kind of crazy in its own right. But
like, this is another one of those sci-fi scope things. I'm like, there are literally like fucking billions of stations probably, and they just don't know which ones they got to go to. But like, from a guy who mainly reads fantasy, I'm like, you got 3 cities, and he finally figured it out. So.
It does feel like that given our scope into the story.
Yeah, and I think like the assumption here as we get into the Bone Cutter and forward is that like the people who make it to this place, these are the fringes. Like they're already at what essentially equates to Vorgosos. You know, it's just like now there's one more step. But it did crack me up a little reading it, where I was like, they did this in a day with a few conversations. That's crazy. So.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I assume, I guess even in my own head, that like it took more than a day to have these conversations, but like 2 days, you know, like a night on the
even
station.
Still, yeah,
you know, not much at the very least.
Yeah.
Once again, we get another within this chapter before I completely move away from it into the next one. There's another sort of Damocles reference. We fully get that. We fully understand. We got it.
It's back here. Yep. Whenever I read it, or whenever I was in the car.
Spider thread. Yeah.
He mentioned he's like spider thread with the sort of Damocles hanging above, and I like had like a Captain America. I understand that reference moment in the car. It works.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's just one of those things where it's like there are a couple of things that I think that Rockio references a lot more than others, and the sort of Damocles is definitely one of them that I think that like Hadrian references and like thinks about a lot because he ultimately feels responsible for a lot. Like this decision hinges on like a singular sort of deal.
I've only read Lesser Devil, which I don't know if there were any like specific Crispin was referencing Old Earth in his mind type moments. It's in third person, so that wouldn't really work anyways.
Right.
I would love to know, and you can't tell me, if other characters have other types of references they keep going back to that are like things Hadrian wouldn't reference. You know?
Oh, I don't even know. That's interesting.
Like Hadrian's always like Greek mythology and then also kind of anime. It would be so cool if one guy was like Fast and the Furious and also Chinese mythology. You know,
there are a couple of references later in the series that will be very fun for that reason, more specifically. But there is nothing, especially when you bring up other characters into the perspective. I don't know that there's any other character that we seriously inhabit the mind of, even in like the short stories or anything like that, that would like bring us to the fore in the way that you're kind of saying.
Like if we ever got a Valka story, and it's probably due to accents a little bit, but also I just kind of like get the vibe for some reason that like Valka's culture maybe pulls more influence from like Eastern European cultures. Yeah. And it would be crazy if like in Valka's mind, she's referencing like fucking like, you know, Vlad. Like we got like vampire old lore type shit that she's thinking about whenever she's thinking about these scary things, but Hadrian's thinking about like demons and Shakespeare, you know, like that would be really interesting. So
yeah, I definitely get that. I think I mentioned this during the episode back in Empire of Silence, I think. So please forgive me if I've already mentioned it. We do have a long-term like fan and supporter, of course, patron since practically the beginning. Actually, I think like first month patron, still a patron, Ivana of the show, of whom is very involved in those cultures. I don't want to out her in any way necessarily, but is very involved in those cultures. And actually directly cited some of the different words that are said around and through Vulca, and are like, oh, that is this. Oh, that is this. Like, this is an adjacent term, an idea. And it's been really fun to get that, because like I know enough about Romance languages generally, but I don't know anything about like Cyrillic languages and the way that like those like language pronunciation works, you know?
It's interesting. Like, that's actually really validating to be like, okay, my vibe was right, because it's not very like explicit in any way. But that's cool to know, because that was the feeling I got. And I guess just it would be interesting to like see some of these things like as deep of a perspective that we have from Hadrian from someone else, where they have a chance to wax poetic, to see what they reference. But
yeah, I'd be intrigued. I'd be intrigued if they even would, if this isn't like Hadrian also just having infinite time at the end of his life, you know.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying
things.
Like as a writer, that's something that should actually be done. I'm just saying it would be interesting to see.
Oh no, I'm just saying maybe the only reason Hadrian does it is because now he's, you know, a scholiast on a foreign planet, and he's been there for a long time. And I
feel like Christopher Rocchio shouldn't, but if you're listening to this and you have like an AO3 account, hit me up. Let me know.
Love the idea.
Let's get some fanfic up in here.
With that, we should get into the bone cutter here. And this is a pretty straightforward chapter, but there are some big conversations to have, I think, kind of in two blocks that are kind of similar. They're going to verge into different territory, not just directly talking about the book, but interrogating the idea of perspectives. So we'll start with this. So we get to the bone cutter, as you had previously mentioned. Hadrian's got some problems with a lot of what's going on here collectively, you know, and we'll get into those pieces more specifically. But just to give us a little summary, it reminds him that it's a bit hypocritical to feel the way that he does about the industries here, as the empire trades in the same kind of flesh. And it gets a rise out of him to think about people who think we are only meat. And this is like, it gets into like a very interesting, almost hypocritical argument, even within itself.
There's several layers of hypocrisy here that just rubbed me so the wrong way. Not wrong the way, and like I didn't enjoy the chapter, but wrong way towards Hadrian. I like our boy. I just he keeps saying shit that bugs me.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I appreciate is like I can disagree with Hadrian, and I can disagree even if like Rocky, I'm not suggesting this, but if Rocky held these opinions personally, I can be like, well, I can disagree with you and still understand like what you're going for in the meta text.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
You know, that's a reasonable thing. But
yeah,
the quote that I pulled here, which is just sort of to exemplify the like 2 or 3 paragraphs that kind of go on, is, as if identity were fluid, as if who we are is only granted to us by others and is by others taken away. I want to just end that statement there. That's actually really interesting, and I think that is a really great thought to have, because like if we perceive this conversation, which verges into, I mean, genitalia, sexuality, orientation, and like some other kind of components that plug in there, that line is only granted to us by others and is by others taken away, is actually one in which it fits in with like a lot of classical philosophies of like, I am whatever I think I am, and I don't need you to validate my thoughts.
Right. I mean, not to, God, my thoughts on this section tiptoe around a lot of, because of what this section is, a lot of pretty hot button issues. And it like, there's a lot of little lines in there that have to like bring me back. And I'm like, bro, are you being transphobic right now? And then I have to like come back a little bit, you know? And I like that there's these lines, like you said, there's this one, and there's a few more that talk about like I do like the line.
He's
that I think might be in
transhuman phobic,
here.
for the record. I think that's really kind of the thing, is it's like he's afraid of transhumanism, and by that I mean the combination of machine and people, and it's
but
less
even within
that,
this
but
section,
he
he
does gender and genitalia.
Yeah, exactly. And he starts talking about like whenever you start changing parts, your soul dies and stuff. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know about all this.
But also
like,
he loves those people around him too. That's like the deep hypocrisy. Like he loves Ilex, you know?
Exactly. And I think that and that's one of this is why I say there's several layers of hypocrisy here. But I want to focus on this sentence because there's more to this quote here. Right. But I do like this idea, and I've always held to this like feeling, it not a belief, not a thought, just like a general feeling where like
they don't need to identify as trans. I think that would
exactly like I would love it if gender as a concept was something that was so not as like expressly connected
dictated.
To exactly. But only because this section like sent off weird like pings in my like this feels bad in certain thoughts that I like went that route.
This book also explicitly explores that idea, so I think it's kind of I understand your trepidation.
As a, I mean, we can. I will say like my gender identity is mostly man. I use he and they pronouns. But I don't want to like speak super directly towards like the trans experience. In this section, I think that this sentence speaks towards like, I wish there was a world where people who feel the need to like adjust the society's idea of them so that they can feel the way that they feel inside didn't have to do that because society was just willing to accept them as they are. And I really like that line, but other lines in here, like,
and then other ones turn into like, the
switch, and I'm like,
the need to manipulate yourself to make it as though you are a thing that you're not, which is where that also becomes like the other side of the argument, which is where there's like this really interesting. Hadrian is really complex in this way, and I think that that's kind of an important thing to analyze, right? Like.
Well, Hadrian is complex, but also there's a complexity here where Hadrian's own beliefs and thoughts are at war with each other, which is very human, which is very natural, which is like actually really
deep character,
well-made character building. Yeah, exactly. Right. But like this line, I think is so important, and like we are not meat, like we're not bodies, we have bodies is a really poignant line as well. But then there's expansion on these ideas where he ends up like undercutting his own ideology. Because also there's like there's an unwillingness on Hadrian's part, in my opinion, that definitely comes from a Palatine place of privilege where he doesn't comprehend that like his idealized version of the world isn't the reality people live in. Like if people want to change themselves with machinery, or if they want to change their biology, or if they want to change their sex, or if they want to change anything about themselves, there's probably a reason that has never actually been something he had to consider. You know, like he's probably looking at someone walking around on robot spider legs and he's like, ew. And this was a paraplegic person. And he's just not considering the idea that not everybody is genetically modified in the tube, so they have to modify themselves afterwards. He's as modified, fake, and fucked up and inhuman as all of these people he's judging. It's just his was done
in a legal way, in a sanctioned way. Yeah.
Well, earlier is all I'll say. Because like
also that,
because like out here, it's not illegal. So like whenever we're talking about laws, we're talking about specificity of location, you know, and so, and I guess I don't actually know that specifics of it. Like, is this an illegal outpost that the Empire could find?
This is illegal. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Yeah. But it's like, or is it just existing outside of the parameters of where there is jurisdiction?
Los dos, but like the Empire considers anything that they can take outside of like sovereign nations that they do respect. But like the extra Solarians are sort of like the bandits, the outer rim of Star Wars, you know.
Sure, but it's still free space, you know.
Right, absolutely. It is absolutely free space. Yeah,
so in my mind, it's illegal in the Empire. Like they couldn't go there, but the Empire is not coming here. And so there's like this thing where it's
not
like
yet.
Yeah, I guess for sure. But like that's imperialism. That's a whole different argument.
Right.
within the laws of the place that Hadrian is, this is fine. Within the morality of Hadrian's own parameters, this is fine. He just can't put them together. And I do understand some of the things where it's like really comes into the capitalism of it, where he's like, well, they're selling commodity to prey on people's like to prey on people's own insecurities and self-hatred. And that I agree with. And he keeps making good points and bad points at the same time. And it's this section,
it's complex. It's really
you were right.
good.
This is a section I was going to want to talk about.
Yeah, I knew it. So I knew that when I read it initially, and I was like, we're going to want to like take. I was just like, I'll pull a big chunk of this, and then we can talk about it. To speak to specifically what you were saying on like the commodification of things, to follow on from where I was. As if who we are is only granted to us by others and is by others taken away, as if no part of us is our own. I saw signs selling memories and offering dreams, selling experiences and emotions wholesale. Those buying such services imagine themselves, they improved themselves, when in truth it was their selves they destroyed, their souls, traded piece by piece for pieces unrecognizable until, like the ship of legendary Theseus, who replaced his vessel part by part until all of it was changed, they had replaced all of themselves, and who they were born was dead.
And there's
this also bringing in the ship of Theseus is really good and really cool, and it's really, relevant, obviously.
I like the ship of Theseus, but I also think that this is one of those things where the argument starts so well and then is almost ruined by the ship of Theseus thing. For me personally, because it's like, you just said we are not our bodies. We're not meat. We're not. And then you say like, but if you change too much of the meat, it's going to ruin your mind. I'm like, but your mind is not what we're changing. Like,
correct. He's evaluating the end of the ship of Theseus argument here as a part of this. Like, he is clearly placing a value judgment on the replacement of the things and saying that, no, that ship isn't you. And that's like, I feel like that's very clearly what he's saying here.
See, I read it as like, because there's also these statements in there when it's like, whenever you add arms or anything, there's a strain that goes to your mind where you can't possibly remain who you were. I'm like, I don't think I agree with that. Like, I don't feel that augmentation of self. I don't think my earrings make me less me than I was before I had them. And I don't see how on a larger scale this is any different, like,
yeah.
And so, and I can understand there's like two like arguments. There's like, is like the like veneers, plastic surgery, and Ozempic expectation of Hollywood, or is there just like, hey, I want to have fucking elf ears and horns because I fucking love that. There's two different things. One is like the expectations put on you by society, and one is just the one where you have the freedom to pursue
self-actualization.
Self-actualization. The freedom like, if I want a mullet, I can have a mullet, but if you want elf ears, you can't. Like, what's wrong with that? So I think that in this situation, he's seeing something that challenges the core of what he believes, because every belief he has could be re-put back onto perfecting Palatine genes. And it is actually more accurate if you view it that way than it is towards these people who are just doing weird shit. Because at the end of the day, they're changing every single genome down the line to fit perfectly within what society's expectations of them are. Whereas these people are breaking away from society's expectations to become more what is in their mind so that their meat suit matches it. And that's where like my frustration comes in, is everything about Hadrian's argument here is like, for the cheesiness of it, one finger at you, four back at me, or whatever that sort of three back at me saying is. Like, this is not his argument against this. Is the only like one that really lands for me is the commodifying it, making profit off of making people feel that they're not enough the way they are. But like everything about Hadrian's life is specifically, he was designed to be a specific way. They changed everything about him in the womb, piece by piece, genetically. He's like the 112th ship of Theseus that's been Theseusized, in his lineage, So I don't know. That's where I get really, really just like weirded out by this conversation, because in the same way where he had that reaction to Saltus saying, we're both from the tanks, this one reeks to me like someone should have been like, you're as modified as these people are. More.
Right. This is
you're
that
more
conversation
modified than these people are.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it allows Hadrian to internally monologue about it, right? Which is a little bit different.
But it allows him to internally monologue. I wish someone was externally there to call him on it. You know?
Right. Absolutely. I want to read the first part of the paragraph that I didn't cut into our chat here.
Yeah.
Just because to lead through that part, I think that we nailed that. I want to point this out as a comparison because he kind of, it's not straw man, but he does escalate the argument in such a way that it implies other things over the course of that paragraph versus what we just talked about, which I think is a more, from his perspective, a more rational construction of an argument.
The two pieces
irrationally, though.
The two pieces that have been read so far together form a rational argument. The middle part is where like I start spiraling out and I want to like call him out on his shit, you know?
Right. So, but we are not bodies. We have bodies, which is what you said earlier. And
which I don't mind that line. I like that line. And then we start doing stuff.
And then who we are is rooted in that animal matter. We rise higher, growing like a tree toward heaven. I can think of no greater evil than the insistence that we are only meat. How many lives have been demeaned, destroyed by that insistence? How many millions? That city, what it offered, what it suggested, we were nothing more. And so the men who traded in flesh, offering surgery, therapy, and replacement, offered people a vision of their best selves, as if identity were fluid. And so that's where, like, within those sentences, you, like, remantle and dismantle an interesting argument that actually the beginning and end of those things agree with each other more than the middle does. Again, in a second, and this is all one paragraph. And so much of it is so it intentionally conflicts, I think.
Yes, I agree. I do think there's an intentional conflict, and I haven't read the rest of the series, so we'll see what Hadrian learns or doesn't. But there is I think what it really comes down to is this hypocrisy of him not realizing that he's the same thing. And then at the same time as that, the hypocrisy of him never having had to live in a body that wasn't perfectly made. He's never experienced dysmorphia, you know, like maybe because he's a little shorter than other palatines.
Only externally,
but like,
and it's not. Yeah, obviously, it's not your internal dysmorphia. So like that word doesn't entirely. But like he views intises as lesser than. Can you imagine if you were an intis, Hadrian, for a moment?
Yeah, all he would have had to do was be born. You know, like he's like that's a fucking monster, but he can't change it because that's who he is, you know, like that. I'm like, bro, if
all we are is the monsters of our birth, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like you are born the way you are, and that's who you are. And if you change that, that's wrong. I'm like, fuck off. The world has all of this technology to grant you the ability to live a better life, more yourself, and you're saying that we should just accept the hand that was dealt with us because you were dealt the best hand. No.
Yeah, not the caterpillar becoming the butterfly, but the spider devoured by her own children. No mind could undergo such changes to the body and remain itself any more than an uprooted tree can make its home in hostile soil.
It's so easy to compare the spider and the butterfly when you were born a hummingbird.
Yeah, dude. When you're a fucking eagle. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nah, get out of here. I'm glad you knew I would have thoughts about this section.
Yeah, well, I think that it's a great, like, and I think that that's one of the things that I love this series for personally, and this is why, like, Hadrian
it's just like how transphobic it is. Yeah,
that's it for sure. No, I just mean Hadrian monologuing internally allows for actual philosophical discussions and like interesting character building moments and things like that in a way that not a lot of other series these days, at the very least, facilitate in the same kind of way.
Know what I'm really interested for, and you can't really tell me how much it happens,
of course,
but I feel like there's gonna be, and I'm gonna be here for it. I'm gonna be excited to see it from like a more meta standpoint. But there's an interesting thing whenever you read a book this way, whenever it's gonna be a long form series like this, where Hadrian is writing all of this theoretically from one state of mind. I'm curious to see if Hadrian's stances on things in the world and beliefs change as just a decade passes for Christopher Rocchio. You know, I'm curious to see as Christopher Rocchio grows as a person. Not saying that Christopher Rocchio was trying to be transphobic here. I don't believe that at all. But like as Christopher Rocchio grows in his own philosophies, how much more poignant does Hadrian become? Well, does Hadrian become? You know, I'm very interested and excited to see that.
Yeah, this is also to say, I want to layer this in here as an element of the conversation. I think it's important to also recognize, and I see a lot of this just with people reacting to different elements of the 5th, 6th, and 7th books variously in this series. And I'm not going to get into specifics, obviously, but it's important to recognize that someone can write something and not support it very obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I think a lot of people misconstrue
have you ever heard of Stephen King?
All the time. Yeah, well, exactly.
Okay.
Man writes so much racist shit because people are fucking racist, and he's like, I don't condone that, but that's what would happen in that situation.
I think he writes racist shit
70s.
and like gross sex shit because he knows it makes people uncomfortable, and that puts them on edge for horror, you know, and also to call it out and like to
especially
make like a
in
statement
undertones.
about it.
It depends on the era. We need to be very clear.
Yes, of course.
The cocaine era, he just did whatever the fuck he wanted.
He
but
didn't
like
know what he was writing.
Later, he was like, that's actually an element of horror that I can like intentionally lean into, because like small town horror being like a sundown city, for instance, is fucking terrifying.
Sundown horror being just living inside of the mind of a teenage boy, pretty scary.
Right.
But
Anyway,
the cocaine era, Stephen King didn't write those. He did have a ghostwriter. It was Cocaine.
Yeah,
Cocaine wrote those books.
Cujo just appeared one day.
Yeah. that was written by some pure Colombian for sure.
So all this to say, like, I understand exactly where you're coming from on one side of things. I just also want to like forefront for people that are listening to this and thinking about other things either later down the line or one way or another, that it's like a writer need not agree with the subject of their writing because they're exploring something through
and
writing,
I would like to explicitly say, whenever I read this, I didn't read it as like, I'm mad at this writer.
Right.
But I am engaging with this book in a way where we're very much so discussing these characters kind of as real people, and like Hadrian,
the book starts with a genocide. It explains that we are committing genocide as a beginning point of this book. That is a controversial idea to begin with.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But this you know, if I think about it in that regard, this could be one of those moments I look back on that, like, I don't know where this series goes. I don't know how I'll feel about them by the end. This could be one of those early moments that signify me towards Hadrian's like villainous
streak,
where like I think we're designed to think that his intentions are heroic, and I think his intentions are heroic, but every villain's intentions are heroic, you know.
Right. Every bad guy is a good guy in their own head. Right.
Exactly. This is one of those moments where I'm in Hadrian's head and I'm like, I see why you think this, and part of this is right, but I really disagree with you. And this is a little fucked up, actually.
Yeah. In some cases, more than a little fucked up.
Yeah.
Anything else to say on this emotional argument before we get into
I'm going to say the same shit over and over because I'm passionate about it. But
no,
we'll move on.
I just wanted to, see if there was anything else. Okay, cool. Well, then
I'll talk about it for 4 more hours, but we
can definitely do it. I mean, there's so much more to say. I think that this series continues to explore this question, so this is not done.
Yes.
But we then finally meet our bone cutter, a Lothrian named Yevgeny Sento, and Hadrian hides behind the familiar name once again. He runs through a gamut of common things that Imperials clearly come to the extras for before he finally puts Sento in his place, asks his real question, and the Doctor breaks from his accent and his like Lothrian affectation to tell us more about the exalted Vorgozos and everything else.
I love that it's like yes, come here, tell me. Drop the act. You know, where I'm not buying anything. I'll just give you a money for information. Ah, shit. Okay, yeah. Well,
it's only when he brings up Vorgozos specifically that he's like, fuck.
The dropping the accent is so good. And it's a trope that's been used, but every time it gets used, I love it.
It's not something I don't expect that much out of novels. You know what I mean? Like movies, TV shows, not a novel.
I also feel like it's something used very specifically in like non-period pieces. Like for the most part, that is a concept that is used in like modern tellings where there's usually it's like I can think of
society interacts more readily at like a cultural level where there's osmosis between cultures.
Exactly. Like probably God, I don't want to say a number because then you're gonna ask me to say them, and I'm not gonna be able to like pull the movies out of my ass. But just scenes specifically from movies and TV, 80s, 90s, thousands, I can think of a couple scenes where like someone's in Chinatown in San Francisco, and this exact scene happens. You know, like,
Yeah, right.
um, or I think there's a scene in Avatar where there's like a fortune teller who eventually drops the act whenever they say something. You know, like it's
Right,
a staple.
100%.
I love
Yeah.
it. But also, I was not expecting it here.
No, not at all. Right. Not from Rockio. Yeah.
Yeah, it got me. It got me, and I liked it. And I loved it, and I wanted some more of it, you know?
Especially because we get like Lothrian for the first time properly. We know that Hadrian
Yeah.
speaks Lothrian, but it's like this pronounless speech.
Yes.
Right.
Having come here, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very fun. There's like this weird lack of pronouns, and he's playing it up so much, and he keeps cutting him off, which I loved. He's like, I'm here for, oh yes, I guess what here for?
Yeah. I guess what here for? You want surgery for big dickums? Okay,
You,
okay. You can't get it in society.
You make dickums bigger? No,
Yeah.
no. Oh,
No.
dickums too big. Need to make
Dickums too
dickums
big, dickums
smaller.
Oh, you have
No?
other problems. We can fix your tiny toes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dickums for toes. Yes. You know, like, you can just keep going on it. It's so
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. It's just a fun little scene, and I can totally imagine this like in an anime. Like it's as obtuse
Yes.
as it seems. It feels ripped out of even like Cyberpunk 2077, which is obviously
Very much
post
so.
this. Like
Yeah.
it's just fun. It's just good.
Yeah,
It's a
it
well
has
done
like
scene.
the going back to Avatar. There's like I think it's Avatar, like the shopkeep who runs the shop with his brother, but it's just the same guy changing his hat. You know, like
Yeah.
it has that vibe. And I liked it, and it was silly, but also it gives us the first time someone. I actually don't know if it's the first time it happened, but it's the first time we're shown it. Someone here's like, all right, yeah, I could do that, but it's gonna be a lot of money or your fucking blood. I like that blood.
I think he just says a lot of money in this circumstance. It's the next guy that says blood, but he does offer
because
something
I think
for
the next
blood.
guy, yeah, exactly. He's like, oh,
Right.
let me take, or that's what it is. He
Take a
tries to
sample
take
of
his
your
blood.
Yeah.
He tries to get the blood in a sneaky way,
Mm-hmm.
and Hadrian backs away, and
Right.
we start to realize like people here really want that fucking Palatine aged, barrel aged, cocoa nibs, good. That's going
Yeah.
on.
Because he's like, you want
in
life
Hadrian.
extension? You've got more life than anyone else has.
This is also like, and
He
I
talks
know,
about telomeres. He talks about like,
yeah, I know that like we're given an explanation multiple times,
Mhm.
and it probably just is the explanation. But there's just such a part of me that thinks something else is going on with Hadrian's blood that he doesn't know about.
sure.
Because people are like fucking obsessed with it, and he keeps being like, "We're not even that big of a house." Sure, like my mom's side is pretty.
Mom's
advanced,
side's a big
but
deal, though. Yeah. Mom's
But,
side
like,
rules the solar system.
a lot of these people here don't know that. Like, I don't think they would be
Right.
this weird about just any Palatine blood. There's something going on with Hadrian that people who know what's up with geology or genealogy, not geology. Well, maybe. I mean, I guess his eyes are like amethysts or something, right?
Right.
With genealogy, like they look at Hadrian and they're like, "That's worth $100 grand."
Mhm.
And I'm like, is that every Palatine that comes through here can just like shoot you a blood sample and get whatever they want? Because I don't feel like it is from the way you're talking.
I also can't help but wonder, given our framing device, if this isn't like one of those subtle storytelling motifs that like Hadrian at the end of his life is putting in here, is the value of his blood.
He's like,
And he's overvaluing it to dramatize the idea of like what his blood is worth.
Right.
To, like, lead
People
into
just-
the next conversation, which the other guy is like, I want it for your
You'll
eyes.
bleed into
Yeah.
the next conversation.
Yeah. Bleeds into the next chapter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like this is one of those examples that I would probably point to being like, this feels like a weak point to bring up within this point, which makes it feel like a lie from later Hadrian, because like,
Right.
how would this guy know that his blood is worth more than the last Palatine guy who came through? There's no way that he
Exactly,
can tell
yeah.
from the outside,
Unless
unless violet eyes mean something, maybe, or green eyes or blue eyes or.
dear listener, Crossland lies to me sometimes, and I can never tell. And I haven't caught him in one yet, but I know it's there.
Man, it's taken so long to be okay and to have actually developed a poker face because I didn't have one.
Read him.
I didn't have a poker face.
Tell me if he's doing some shit.
For a very long time. And also, other people haven't seen my face while recording until we've done it. So,
that's interesting. Yeah.
PJ and I did famously through Morningstar without having cameras on. We just hopped into a group chat call and we recorded without looking at each other because I couldn't help but laugh and like snicker and like everything else. So I'd hit mute on my microphone and like that's how I managed it. And then after that, we went to video calls just for the two of us. And then now we're full face. So
full face.
I developed.
But you're a pro now.
A poker face. This is episode 297. So
and
yeah,
I'm really conceited. I mostly look at myself on this video call.
Yeah,
so,
it's better that way. Also, when I cut the episodes, and do like the little edits, sometimes I cut away from myself if I feel like I'm being too obvious, which is interesting. Like even
so if I'm ever watching the episode and you're talking, and for some reason you're just lingering on me being like,
sometimes it's because I'm like, maybe.
Like, why would he cut to me picking my teeth? What the fuck?
Yeah, man. Sometimes the auto descript cutter also like makes some weird decisions where like I'll be picking my teeth and it cuts to me only, and you're speaking, and I'm like, I'm not the focus here.
Yeah. Descript just makes weird decisions.
Right.
If you're a dev for Descript and you're listening to this, fix it. Sponsor us. Fuck you. Wait, right. That sponsor us. We love you.
A, sponsor us. B, fuck you. C,
fix it.
Profit.
D, the way by fixing it would just be going back like a year.
2 at this point, but yes.
Yeah, 2 at this point. Let's be real.
Okay, so getting back to this, I do love bringing up the Exalted, this like other faction that we've heard like rumblings of so far, right? In this idea, even in the last chapter, Hadrian ruminates as they're passing by on this train about Psalms maybe being in warehouses or infants, that are going to be turned into Psalms are in these warehouses. And so there's like this sort of larger fear there. And he references back to this and he says the Exalted had appeared as villains in some bad Eudoran masks in so many great operas. It was against them that the legendary Kharn Sagara had fought after they destroyed his home. They were beyond humanity, it was said, creatures who had given so much of themselves to their machine demons that almost there was nothing left.
I mean, there's phrasing in here I would switch out, but technically, yeah, he's a little correct. Not machine demons, not that they stop being people, but there's definitely some Exalted in this area that in this section.
There are hot Exalteds in your area.
There's hot Exalteds in your area that have given so much of themselves to the machine that there's pretty much nothing left. Oh man, I would definitely swipe him some hot Exalteds in my area. I wanna know what those talons do.
What do those talons do?
How many eyes you got? Okay.
One of them's a flesh talon. That's interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Crazy.
What's that spinny part for?
A bird person.
A bird person. Well, now we're just switching back, and yes, I would fuck Jarnathan from the Dungeons and Dragons movie. But...
hang on, Paramount. I know that you've become a conservative hellhole in your own right because of Larry Ellison and otherwise.
And now HBO is
potentially. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, WB in general, which means just like it's all fucked. Maybe.
And the company that Hasbro owned that did movie production no longer exists. It was dissolved after that movie, even though it was successful. They failed to do a couple of other adaptations. And then they spun off a different studio. Please make another one of those movies.
Just 10 more.
Fucking God. It's perfect. It's genius. It's having like legs in the long run. People love that movie.
It is the only movie I think that's come out. No, I won't say only movie. I will say that off the top of my head in the past, I want to say 5 years, but I'm actually not sure. The first one I'm going to say isn't 6 years ago. Jesus. No, it's one of the only post-COVID films that's not like part of a legacy franchise. Well, I guess Dungeons and Dragons is a legacy, but I mean it's like
an IP,
like a continuation, a sequel or something like that. That I feel like I go back to rewatch in a way that it feels like a classic. I'm just like jumping into the Breakfast Club or Ace Ventura. You know, like,
Absolutely.
very different
It feels
movies,
like a
but you know the
natural
feeling.
classic.
It's
Right.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Honor Among Thieves.
Honor Among Thieves is a natural classic, and so is Palm Springs.
Absolutely. Palm Springs is fucking
I
incredible.
think those are my two, like, those are the classics of this era, and they're not going to be popular enough to actually be classics. But
I
those
showed
ones,
it to my girlfriend over Valentine's Day weekend / birthday weekend. She loved Palm Springs. She was so in. And I
I'm
was
obsessed
like,
with
yeah,
that.
it's perfect.
That continues to be my, like, I'm damn near about, this is going to make me sound like way more of a drunk than I am. Every now and then I'll get too drunk, you know? And that's my, like, man, I'm fucked up. I'm just going to put on a movie. It's always Palm Springs. Every
Love
time.
that. Yeah.
It's just so good.
You
And
also like
sometimes I'll
mirror
watch
that
it sober
vibe
too.
in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like a safety of, like, man, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but
Yeah,
I'm
Adam
here.
Sandler character is just popping beers the whole time. He's just cracking.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can just sit
Not
there
Adam
with
Sandler. Andy Samberg.
Andy
But yeah.
Samberg,
Yeah.
Sandy Amberg,
Yeah.
Brandy Sambic. Yeah. Yeah. We can jump back into the book, but
We totally will. We totally will.
well-
all right. So we're back to a matter of price. As sort of the previous chapter ends with like him giving a name and a direction. I love the sort of creeping dread again that like permeates this in much of March Station. The opening here with the green water and the fog feels eerily reminiscent of some of the sort of swampier northeastern Lovecraft novels that we've spoken about, where it's like we're in the docks, we're among the academies, we're there. And it just feels like it's harkening back to that in this sort of wretched, eldritch kind of way.
yeah, and
It
I
feels
mean, like,
watched too.
I think he mentions feeling watched here, and also first whenever the land here, whenever he talks about, like, we open up to pouring rain,
Mhm.
but we're on a station and it's oily, and there's, like, as we
Right.
walk through, I can feel the sense of cameras watching me, and it definitely just gives this, like, tense feeling to the entirety of being here, and I like it. I don't think I want to go there, but I like it.
No, I would never want to go there.
Now there might be,
said-
like, a nice sensory aspect because everything's oily, that everything's just, like, a little slippery.
could be.
It's like anything's Heelys if you run fast enough.
If you run fast enough. Just do a little
Exactly.
skate.
I'd be
That's where my Vans are at right now.
I'd be
so-
slippy sliding everywhere. So.
I feel you. No, I really like the framing of this because it sets up again sort of the tone that we should expect from this chapter, which is one in which we go into Antonius Brevin's office, who we learn the name of a little bit later, and are greeted by this homunculus woman who is, as we learn, sort of a manufactured shape in so many ways, who is almost locked in this sort of like self-service mode and smiles only beneath the eyes. So like her eyes are locked in, but her face beneath moves in a way. It's very weird. Eventually, Hadrian and Switch are led back to Brevin's office, which is more of a large room, just with him in a chair with the seasick green tone washing out from the underwater of the water that we saw outside. And he's got this Raven Hrothgar in it with him.
You know more things. Is Hrothgar a specific thing from, like, Norse mythology, or?
So he's actually a real king of the Danes, prince of the Danes.
Okay.
A legit. But
Because
he
legitimately,
is-
when I heard it, I was like, "Hi, Hrothgar from Skyrim."
yeah. Well, and like importantly, or maybe most importantly for a lot of people's like reflection on this, he is the king of the Danes for like the Beowulf stories and the similar like myths that take place around that sort of like heroic venture. So he's a king of sorts.
Okay, very cool.
But he kind of like fits in, and it's interesting to see this like dissonance over time. Because if I were to name a raven, I would name it after one of Odin's ravens, right?
Right.
Like that's what you would name it, not Hrothgar. But
because this is just like one of the names that exists from that tale, you're like, Odin, ravens, Hrothgar. Got it.
and maybe over time it got mixed in, and it became like a replacement name for one of the ravens. You know?
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I like that this raven keeps like saying answers and then being wrong. Well, sometimes
No.
right. No. Yeah. Hold on. And he's like, oh,
Hang on.
sorry.
Sorry. Parrot
It
Raven.
makes me think that this Raven is pretending not to be able to talk, but they're definitely going to have like a Jafar Iago situation later.
Hrothgar is really the intelligent one in the room. That's really where the brain lives.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2 bodies, 1 flesh, 1 mind.
Wait, do you think that
You heard me.
there's like a android and Hrothgar is actually
Yeah.
That's fucking sick.
I mean, why not? Right? You
yeah,
can.
I mean,
Why wouldn't
headcanon for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely my headcanon.
Dude,
Within
this
this room
guy's
is like,
real fucking bird brained.
yeah, right, exactly. That guy, that's like a shell of a man with like flesh and maybe like a brain, but like the real brain is the Raven, right?
I mean, you can't convince me otherwise. That's fucking sick.
That's where I'm at, man.
Yeah. All right.
This
Cool.
scene, as I've reread it a couple of times, I've been like, Hrothgar seems to like have the instinct, but not the negotiation, not the like human
Yeah.
factor. So that's where I'm like, brain storage is in the Raven. External
Oh,
hard drive,
shit.
you know?
The Raven is an external hard drive.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not that big.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that big. But
I mean, there's something going on here.
Yep.
But here we are in the weirdest fucking timeline, like where there's birds that think and robots that don't. So, give it to me, Hadrian.
True. Yeah. To say a little bit more about this too, did you have weird feelings about like him then later selling this like sentient, obedient model?
Yes,
that very clearly
felt
feels like he
gross.
like, yeah.
I get a lot of use out of her.
So that line, I don't know if this has been like spoken about more widely, but that line is practically aped out of Ex Machina by Alex Garland.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is from Oscar Isaac's character talking about Ava, who's the model therein. And I've watched that movie so many times. Alex Garland's one of my favorite directors that I was like, oh, yeah, for sure. Both times.
Sometimes I wonder if I want to say something here or not.
What?
I don't think I've ever seen. I know I would like every single one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all movies that are highly recommended that I like. I feel like I have an artistic like connection to already, just knowing what I do about them.
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever seen an Alex Garland movie.
Have you seen 28 Days Later?
We've talked about that, no?
Oh, fuck, we have. Have you seen... You haven't seen Annihilation. We know that.
But I want to. It sounds sick.
He's directing the Elden Ring movie. I mean, like, he's
and
writing
and that's the
directing
thing.
it.
Like, whenever I
Yeah.
saw Alex Garland was doing Elden Ring, I was like, that's the only way I would ever be excited about this.
This
That's insane.
podcast
But this is
exists
also
because
somebody
of Alex Garland.
I have never seen one of his movies, and every
That is-
single one looks like it would be my favorite movie.
We actually like maybe have a mini series for patrons there because like I
Yeah.
don't mean to like front in this way, but this podcast would not exist.
It's
if you
purely
kind of talked about this a couple
accidental.
of
Every
times.
single one of his movies, I'm like, God, I gotta watch that.
The
And I
only
don't.
reason the show exists is in combination of COVID, PJ and I enjoying watching over Discord and FaceTime calls the show Devs together, which is an Alex Garland, the only Alex Garland TV show.
Okay.
Because we liked his other shit. And then I went, wait, you're going to really love these sci-fi fantasy books that like I love. And I know you've never read before. That's literally what like
And
led
I know
us
you
into,
can't read. Yeah.
yeah, right. Exactly. That's what led us into doing the show. So like, hey man, we can do them in order. I'm down. That's like,
yeah,
that sounds
sign
like,
me up.
that sounds like a fucking joy for me.
That sounds so fun.
I own 100% of those.
Nice. And that's something where I'm like, I like, they're up there with like the fact that I've seen original Blade Runner, but I haven't seen 2077 or 49. Yeah, 77.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, that's cyberpunk.
Yeah.
All good. All good.
But I mean, Denny, you know, feeling the wave is
Villeneuve.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that sucks that I haven't like watched all of his movies. I feel that like I haven't seen any Alex Garland movie, but every single time I see something about an Alex Garland movie, I'm like, God damn, I feel like I would love this, and it just like doesn't work out.
He's sort of the man. To get back to the book here, just for a brief moment, because that does feel like it is something that calls out to Ex Machina. Did you have any weird feelings about the robot beyond the Alex Garland?
I mean, definitely weird feelings.
Oh,
I've never. I'm never gonna like feel not weird about like, hey man, I bred a really cool sex slave. You want one? Like it doesn't feel good.
No, right. But like in
yeah.
addition, like the sort of like it's weird to me that almost like Hadrian doesn't comment on like the pseudo slavery they're in. Like he
like a
reflects on,
little
like,
later with
control, but,
Valka,
like,
I think.
yeah,
but,
right, later.
But yeah, he's like, I don't. He comments on how she's like designed in a way where she couldn't get away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Right.
like that's the most gross upsetting part. I mean, it's all gross and upsetting. But the fact that like he comments on like
she can't run because of her waist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's designed in a way where she can't run away.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Yeah.
And this is acceptable in Imperial culture. But a paraplegic getting robot legs isn't. You know?
Yeah. Right. And that's where this is sort of like, again, it's a little bit of a disconnect because he views this as gross, but this is like pre-bred versus
Gross,
like, the
but
life that you would
fine.
choose. Yeah.
He's like, I don't
Could you
like
not choose
this.
something else? You know? Like,
But he doesn't look at her like, that's a demon.
yeah.
And he doesn't look at this guy like, that's a demon.
No.
But literally just someone with robot legs, that's a demon.
Yeah, it's interesting. So to that point, we come to realize that the price that he's asking for isn't so much for him to have a ride, but for his ship to ride in a sojourner as a part of the conversation. And as such, he's
Cool
asking
little reveal.
for a price. Yeah.
Tuck it away in a corner, they won't even know you're there.
Yeah, won't even know you're there. And the ultimate price in his mind is blood, given the 100,000 thing. And the reason that he says 100,000 marks is he's like, I'm not taking you, I'm taking your ship, which is a big deal. Hadrian, though, is unwilling to pay the price of blood and reflects instead on ancient traditions brought to the future, seeing literal gold coins in the place of Brevon's eyes, thinking about like the capsums that were placed in funerals. There's a lot of reflection on funerals over the course of this week as well, and death.
Yeah. Also, there was like this whole part is very interesting, coming straight out of the Lesser Devil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where like we get maybe a little bit of reference to Catholicism, but then like to jump straight into him talking about like the cultists above Medwar would do this, and I'm like, oh, I know them.
Oh, I know them actually. Yeah, I've met them. Yeah,
yeah.
They're those museum Catholics. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you talking about old John Louis?
Yeah. Jean Laurent?
I don't think I have...
Sorry, Father Laurent. Yeah, Jean Louis.
Father Laurent and Jean Louis.
Yeah.
And Honhon and Baguette.
Albay, right.
Yeah, and Hadrian has no clue that maybe right this second his first love is getting murdered by a fucking
laser
ship's
beam.
laser cannon.
Yeah. Also that his first love like had kids.
He's like, oh man, that's crazy. I was thinking
He's
about
like,
these cultists, and she's like, so
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't have much more thoughts about this section.
No, it's
I
pretty
just really honed in on the Catholicism thing because we just read Lesser Devils. So
very fair. Finally, the price that Hadrian is willing to pay, spilling someone else's blood, of course, the blood of his Cielcin prisoner, in quotes. He's not a prisoner necessarily. He's more of like a diplomatic, I don't know, tie-in.
A diplomatic prisoner, for sure.
For sure. As long as he wishes to do so, he reflects on this with pain as he reflects on places of old Earth. To the quiet fields in the forgotten Poland or buried beneath Siberian snows, to Beijing, Nanjing, Hiroshima, to the ruins of Constantinople and Rome before it. Equating this blood, this sacrifice, to a lot of the worst events in human histories and some of the worst massacres to have ever happened.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
It feels...
we don't need to like dictate those things for people, right? Like they understand.
Right. Yeah. I think if you understand
Poland,
exactly one of them, you understand the gist.
Holocaust, gulags, Tiananmen Square, the rape of Nanking, Hiroshima, of course, being the bombing therein.
Yeah. He really was like, here's a human atrocity, here's a human atrocity, here's a human atrocity, here's the only time a nuclear bomb has been dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah. and at this point, that would almost be weird to show. I think it's just the first one, right? Because at this point in their history, I assume mini nukes have probably been dropped. But
I kind of wish he would have like invented and placed one to some degree.
I agree. Like, I would love to hear about, like, we hear about AIDS 3 in somewhere in this section.
Yep.
And I didn't see
Brevin
2.
brings up. Yeah.
Yeah, like, so if I know about 1 and I haven't seen 2, would I like understand 3, or like could I watch the third one?
Can I see? Yeah. Do I need to understand the sequels? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I saw 1.
but I do think like the idea that like Hadrian doesn't react necessarily to like that AIDS 3 news that like Brevin brings up to him is like, we were the ones responsible for eliminating it. Just goes to show that like there is this sort of maybe imperial, you know, almost Greco acceptance of being bisexual or being like homosexual in other connotations, but not a full acceptance. Like we're not going to solve the problems.
Right.
Probably have the
your
resources
problem.
to do so.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because I mean, at this point, imperialist higher ups are the only ones they actually care about. And there's even a comment in there, and I don't remember which chapter it's in, but it was earlier than where we are now.
I think it's Bonecutter. Right? Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
There's this thing where he says like, but they would just let the world die. But what does it matter that are plebeians? You know? Mm-hmm. So it's like, at the end of the day, I think if Palatines were dying of AIDS 3, they would have fixed it. But plebeians are only important if they breed, right? They are workers, they must reproduce. So if they are engaging in activities, or if they are unwilling to reproduce, then let them die. You know? And that's fucking crazy. Anyways, back to what we were talking about here. Jesus. There's a lot of atrocities he mentions. I wish there were like more invented. I actually didn't notice that your notes talked about AIDS 3. Did you just add that, or
no? It was there the whole time.
Jesus, that's crazy. That just made me think about AIDS 3. I was not reading the notes.
Yeah. No, to your point though, I wish that one of these felt invented as opposed to reflected. Although maybe on the other side of things, you know, I can understand someone being like, don't invent something to add an atrocity on top of like real human suffering. That's one of those issues with sci-fi where like there is this essence of world building where sometimes you should and sometimes you shouldn't. These are really incredible genocides, but this whole series is baked on the idea of committing like a xenocide, right?
I feel like building an atrocity is only negative if you don't like do your due diligence of like legitimately theory crafting what that atrocity is and making a statement about it, you know?
Yeah, it could have been something that happened on Old Earth with the Americanii, right? Like
tell us about something from the Americanii that has something to say. But
yeah. I mean, to the quiet fields in forgotten Poland, I mean, obviously we're referencing camps there, but you could have called out a different country before that and then called Poland and then, you know, kind of like wound down as though we should know something that's missing. But
yeah, I agree. This would, but I think that this is one of those moments where he wanted to like be like, people need to understand
it hits hard.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, right.
But it would have been cool if one in the middle or at the end or at the beginning or like, regardless was
maybe at the end actually to the ruins of Constantinople and Rome before it. And like it's weird because he's not winding back through history, right? Poland, 1940s, Siberian snow, 1930s into 1950s, technically, like it spans time.
Yeah. It's
Tiananmen Square's, 60s, 70s? Yeah. Nanjing is in the fucking 20s or 30s because it's actually before World War II, and Hiroshima obviously is in the 40s. Constantinople and Rome are in, you know, I mean, depending on which fall of Rome you're talking about.
Sorry, Tiananmen Square is the 80s, 89.
80s? Shit, I thought it was late 70s. Okay.
1989.
Just like a little bit of ordering there might have like done a little bit of justice too.
Yeah,
to, like,
I agree.
Because then you can levy in the fake thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could
Like-
work through history and then drop
Yep.
a. He could also do like some atrocities, like he could have brought up like Genghis Khan, you know,
Right, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
like he could have thrown some historical atrocities, which you
Mhm.
have to like do some deep dive because, you know, Victor's
I'm-
right history. But
I'm glad that he wrote in like the rape of Nanking. Nanjing,
yes,
you know,
because
like, that's a great example.
very overlooked.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
With that said,
Yeah.
there's
That
blood
said,
and there's water. You know,
There is blood and water. It's revealed that Hadrian, of course, has agreed to this price, which Octavia praises him for. It's denoted that they are to ride on the Enigma of Hours, which we'll talk about. And Hadrian advises Durand and Octavia to not allow for leave for the troops.
So it's remind me, does he already reveal this before he reveals it to Valka?
Which bit?
Just the deal that he made.
He gives the deal. Yeah, he explains. Yeah.
Because I think it's really interesting that Valka's like, yeah, like laughs, like is fine, like it's fine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He does what is. So, like, Volka's like, what exactly is your problem? You know, like, why are you worried about this? Like, she downplays the whole thing.
He even does kind of harken back to, like, her using sex slaves. And it's like, Valka probably has a better understanding of, like, physical autonomy than Hadrian does. But Hadrian has a harsher understanding of, like, dynamics within like who's allowed to say no, you know, like she's from a we don't know much about her culture, but like it's really interesting where she's like, it's blood, it's fine, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's a sex slave, it's fine, it's whatever. And Hadrian's like, that's a person and blood is blood and nobody can ever have a thing in their neck that lets them access Wi-Fi, you know. And it's really interesting to see like both of them making poor decisions based on their culture that the other one doesn't understand.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is like kind of what we're dealing with at the beginning of this chapter into the middle. To that point, like, again, Hadrian reflects on like the people that he's killed and the people that he's harmed over the course of the story. He says to Gilliam, Uvenare, to Emil Bordelon, Admiral Went, but they were different. This is someone who's just living there. He then makes a reference to leopards, lions, and wolves. And I only want to bring this up because I think that it's relevant. Of course, this is a Dante's Inferno reference, given very initially within the text. The three are related with sort of three meta fears, I would call them, within sort of the initial canto and like going down into hell and like what that spiral looks like, right? So specifically, there are these three beasts that he evaluates as hellish, and they are acquainted with incontinence, which doesn't mean what you think it means. We'll explain that more in a second.
I keep shitting myself and I can't stop.
Which is leopards, violence, and then wolves are both fraud and malice.
Interesting.
So incontinence in this context is
it
more
just like a lack of control?
Yes, effectively. Believing different course of action would be better. It's weakness of will. It's like it's being like incapable of controlling yourself.
Interesting. A weakness of will, a lack of control, and then what were the other two? Say it one more time.
Yeah. So the wolf is associated with incontinence. The leopard is associated, or sorry, the lion is associated with violence, and malice and fraud are associated with a leopard.
Oh yeah, dude, I met this guy at a dive bar last week.
Actually, wait, I think I did this backwards. Anyway, core point being, those are the three things that they're associated with, right? Like fraud. Anyway, there are these sort of like ghosts that are beyond sin. They're like a secondary reference to the sins in some way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the sins,
fucking
but
Dante.
Naked capitalism. But yeah,
Dante doing fucking Nero's bidding, man.
Yeah.
Nero, right?
That sounds right.
Am I crazy? I think it's Nero. I'll figure this out soon. But regardless.
Regarders, yeah.
Yeah. Hadrian Velka then share a tense exchange as she reads him up and down about his contradictory morality, which is something that we've been talking about throughout this whole section, which I think is a good thing from a metatextual conversation on
yes,
Rakio's
it gives
part,
a chance to like
for sure
call it out.
Yeah, just to ensure that like we shouldn't be grounding ourselves in Hadrian's arguments so much as we should be contemplating them and talking about them. This is not to say anything about anything, right?
Yeah.
Blood valuing more than slaves and more, like you had mentioned earlier, and he retorts mostly rightfully so about the nature of what he had experienced in the room in that moment with the woman and the dude that is giving them passage here. And while he says that he didn't own slaves, his family certainly had, and he didn't necessarily object, even though maybe he couldn't as a kid. It is certainly an interestingly complex conversation again, where she pins it back being like, bruh, you had slaves.
I mean, it's such a one-to-one kind of conversation of like, I'm a white guy and I can trace my family lineage back to like the 1600s in America, like early shit.
Oh, wow. I cannot, but
mine's like the second ship that fucking landed.
Crazy. I'm like 1800s at best. Yeah.
Hey, even still.
Yeah.
And people like, I think like growing up conservative, I'd be like, well, I didn't own slaves. My family's poor. And now I can be like, hey, actually, at the end of the day, like the only reason I'm in California is because my family was slave owners. Like the finances that got my family to California during the fucking like migration were finances that they got earlier from slave ownership, because we have that in our family history. Like we can definitely look at that and see that that's there. And this is one of those things that Hadrian's not willing to accept. He's like, well, I didn't do it. And I'm like, yeah, but you still benefited from it.
Right.
Like, stop being a bitch about it. Be like, you know what? You're absolutely right. You don't have to like dig out your blood and say, I'm sorry, I guess I'll kill myself. But like, acknowledge that shit. Be like, hey, you know what? I am actually like a product of
a system.
I'm the product of a system that oppressed you to make me. And I'm trying to fix it. You know? Like,
right. And that's
all you can do. Like, you can't do a lot. And I think Hadrian, at least like what we know of Hadrian here in the moment, Hadrian's mind is right in what he's trying to do. But he is so unwilling to accept any sort of like understanding beyond his own individuality. Like he cannot comprehend systemic situations.
Yeah, his critical thought is very lacking in that department often.
He cannot be like, hey, I'm part of a system where I inherently come with and like it should be so easy with like the Palatine thing, but I don't think he's ever like fully just accepted that he'll like spend a whole chapter talking about how like it was so sad for me that everybody else died of the plague, but I couldn't because I was Palatine. But he won't think back to think like, hey, I'd be dead right now if I wasn't
Palatine.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Like
right.
It's
as though my genome wasn't built upon a pyramid of dead bodies before.
He doesn't comprehend the dead bodies that built him to make him exist at this point. But I do think it's intentional in the writing. Like it's very well done, but like, goddamn, it does piss me off sometimes.
I mean, it makes it. This is one of those things with this, especially early on in the series when Hadrian is young and naive, that like people are like, does Hadrian ever get better? And it's like, I don't know if it's necessarily that he gets better. I think he does, but also you understand him more directly. Like
you understand him more directly, and maybe the writing gets better around him. You know?
Right.
Which the writing's already great, but like,
well, I just meant like you also understand where he's coming from to begin with. Like you understand. You don't need to agree with it, but you understand why he behaves the way that he does, and you're like, all right, motherfucker, what are you gonna do here? You know?
Yeah. And God, it's shaping up. Like I'm starting to get and I'm still so fucking early, but I feel like I'm starting to get a better idea of how I view Hadrian, which is different than the hero of our story, which he tells us in fucking chapter 1. I'm not the hero of the story, but you always expect like, well, you say that, and then.
Yeah, I think he's being very honest and forthcoming. He's like,
yeah.
By the way, I blow up a sun and kill a lot of people. I'm not trying to paint that as anything different.
Yeah. So, but I mean, bro knows how to aura farm, but I think that
For sure. Yeah.
in a way where Darrow is also problematic in some ways from Red Rising, I would feel much more comfortable saying like Darrow's my boy than Hadrian at this point.
No, it's more like, I mean, at this point, if we're drawing comparisons like that, I would draw the comparison to the Rogue One Vader scene, right? We're watching Hadrian, we're like,
and
that
you're like,
was
hell
fucking
yeah, that's
sick.
fucking sick. Yeah.
I don't know that I love what that stands for, though.
I mean, I don't know where this goes. And
No.
I
And I'm not saying that either.
And
I'm
I
not
also
trying to place
can't
that
talk
implication on
about
it.
where.
I'm saying right now where we are. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know where this story goes, and I can't talk about where the thing I'm about to say goes. But like, I would like to believe that Hadrian is an Orso. You know?
Sure.
Because that's that same person at the start. I really like him at the end. I'm hoping I like Hadrian at the end, but he might be Anakin, unfortunately, from everything I'm seeing.
I think that it's important, maybe that I put this on the pedestal to some degree, and I'm going to do it now. I don't think I've talked about this before. Rockio has been very outright and upfront with this in any interview and conversation. I know that you don't read those things, and as you shouldn't, and as you should not.
I avoid them. I have skipped a few on TikTok.
We appreciate that. This series is written from the idea of, well, what if Anakin was right, actually?
Oh, interesting.
Kind of.
Or like what if Anakin
initiating
was like
premise.
a better character?
Yeah, well, to begin with, yes, for sure. But also, like, what if Anakin was doing the right thing, you know?
Interesting.
So it's not to say that all of this is correct, but I do think at the very least from the beginning here, we can begin to reframe this from an Attack of the Clones perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, in a way.
Yeah. But this section just definitely made me Anakin-y about my thoughts on this. That's so
which is very
interesting to
reasonable. Very early on, I think it's more evident, and then I think he bleeds into other things and whatnot. But I do think that Howling Dark feels the most, in my opinion, inspired by the prequel trilogy of the books.
Very Attack.
Yeah, it feels like that, but it's written better, frankly.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a tangent I'm not going to go on right now, but one writing practice thing I did whenever I was coming up with the book series I want to write one day, we'll see if I ever do it, was just could I rewrite the entire prequel trilogy?
Ooh.
And that it eventually expanded into just all 9 Star Wars main movies. In order, not from a release, but like linearly as a fantasy series that was actually good.
Sure.
And I never like wrote the books, but like I plotlined it and I changed a lot of stuff and I was like, oh damn, that's actually pretty sick. And then that was kind of like what inspired me to like start writing my own original shit that I'll probably never put out, but you know,
hey man,
I still write a little every day. So
we love that, and we all do. Those of us that write, I mean, not everyone writes. That's an important thing. A lot of people talk about writing.
Hey, more people should write.
Right. Yeah.
Here's the thing I really want to say about this fucking episode. You don't have to be good at writing. Just write stuff. Feels good.
Yeah. And even if like your character is contradictory, that can still be really interesting and really fun.
I'm not good at writing. I do it all the time.
Very fair. So say we all. Also, you're pretty good at writer. I mean, I don't mean that as like pretty good being like a pejorative.
Actually, pretty good was I was like, that was too much of a compliment.
I think you're a good writer. It was not
I think
meant
you're
to
a
be
great
couched.
writer.
I'm fine.
You're great. I'm fine.
I
Send
think
me
you're
more shit.
Yeah, it's fine. That story's done. It's been done.
Send me that shit.
There's only one person who's read the full thing. 2 people who've read the full thing.
Let's make 3. Let's make 3.
Yeah.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Crossland has a full thing written.
I'm almost done with this pass. And then people can maybe have the novella. They can have the full thing. There are only 2 people who've read the full thing. My dad.
Let me know if you need any
and
VO.
Rob Hart. So
let me know if you need any free VO. I can do a lot of
Yeah.
voices.
You can do way more than I can. So, that said, we'll round out this chapter. We then come to Tanaran, and he's trepidatious about the path forward as he sees it as him selling himself to their people, giving them a piece of him until he comes to see, and Hadrian relates it as a species-level defense instinct, as though man with a capital M are hunters as opposed to a man. Tanaran accepts so long as it won't be repeated, as he is a Baitan, which is a very specific thing. There's some interesting linguistics that go on here. Hadrian pulls that black blood out of him, and nothing more is said from that scene.
This scene, it doesn't explicitly do the same thing, but it's interesting. It's something that reminds me of, and I don't remember the exact chapter because I don't think we discussed it earlier, but there's a mention, I think it might be the Bone Cutter.
Probably.
Where he mentions there are extra Solarians and there are extra Solarians.
Yeah.
And then that kind of harkens back to in the first book, there are fighters and there are fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And then like to here, he doesn't use that same framework, but there's this idea of like there is man and there is man. You know, like this idea of like comparing concepts of like there's the lowercase and the uppercase.
I think that the first two are much closer than the third in this case.
Yes, 100%. But I think that this one, to me, I was a little confused by those each time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of understood what they were saying, but not.
Sure.
And then in this sentence, I was like, I feel like this is almost an explanation of what those mean. Like there is like if you say there are fighters and there are fighters,
mm-hmm.
there are people who do fighting, and there are people who are inherently the concept of a fighter. There is man, and then there is me. I represent man, as in
mm-hmm.
the species. Like there is me, a person who does fighting, and then there is me, a person who is here in this moment as a fighter, representing my life and my country and my species, or whatever it is that I am representing. Right. You know, and I think that that's kind of a concept that keeps getting brought up, and I enjoy it.
Oh, it definitely is. I just feel like this one burgeons just a step further, right?
Oh,
what you were talking
100%,
about in the first two is like, it's the first two steps, and then the man-man conversation is like hitched to that idea, but it takes it a step further where it's like, we've been having like cultural to species conversations. Now we're having species to like existential conversations, right?
I love the idea where he's like, when it was me and Uvenari, was it
mm-hmm.
me and Uvenari, or was it man and Cielsen?
Right. Yes.
You know,
exactly.
like that's the difference. Is this a fight that would have happened the same way if it was me as a person versus them as a person? Or is this a fight that happened because it is man and Cielsen?
Mm-hmm.
And neither of us could back down because it is man and Cielsen. And we don't dive into all that, but he does definitely mention Uvenari. And did Uvenari view himself
mm-hmm.
as Cielsen in that moment, you know? So
Uvenari is this ghost that haunts him, you know?
Yeah.
Throughout this whole book.
It's so Uvenari and Gibson. They're basically the angel and alien on his shoulders, you know?
There's a devil somewhere, but we maybe haven't unlocked the devil.
Well, that's the capering one. It's right over his head. It's just dancing.
Right. He is actually the devil. You're totally right. Yeah.
It's like right up top. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Hadrian is the devil.
Very, very true. So with the acceptance from Uvenari, considering all the linguistic differences and the Galstani and everything else that presents itself, which is fun and interesting. We talked a lot about that previously, but like seeing the language bending and sort of what that means from a dominance perspective within their languages is interesting. We can then move into the pilot. Everyone, except Idlix, is mostly uneasy with the docking procedure with the exalted ship, the Enigma of Hours, especially the paranoid Bastian Durant, of whom has been a character throughout this whole week that we haven't been able to bring up, in part because I thought we were going to do this all at once, maybe, and then we were splitting it two, and I was like, well, but Durant is a fun side character within this. He's kind of like a paranoid little pilot boy.
You know, this is probably going to upset some people. I've listened to the section twice. I don't know who you're talking about.
That's fair. He's just a dude, but he's more of like a nervous kind of guy. He's like a little bit like hey, should we really be doing that, boss? And he's
Okay,
like
yeah.
Octavia's second, to some degree.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
I do know who you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Right. And he's there all the time. He's like, should we really, like, should we be? But he's like, pro Hadrian. He's like, sure, brother, I'll do it. I just like, do we feel good about that? Okay.
I kind of love this dynamic though with the like this crew that this is the first like crew that Hadrian has earned,
Mhm.
Everything else is like he came into something else, they joined him. I mean, I guess in the same way, but like we don't really know. Other people do because they read the other stories. I haven't. I don't really know like how this crew became part of Hadrian's thing, but these guys will just do what Hadrian says.
Yeah.
And I like that dynamic. Well, they'll do what Octavia says, and Octavia's like just down.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know what's going on, but
she's big and down.
It's pretty cool that big up and down, she's up and down. But yeah, I know. There's this cool thing where like everyone's like, "Hey, some weird shit's happening," and Hadrian's like, "Hold," and I was like, "Yeah, we'll hold."
Sick.
And we really get to start to see like kind of like what Hadrian's presence is outside of the situations we've seen Hadrian in the first book. So
yeah, he is actually like earning some sort of place, or like has earned, right, to some degree, some sort of like respect. And it's clear that he's not in charge. He does need to earn like other people, but like he's a leader still. Like that's where we got in the very first half of this like part. He was leading into this, right? So that's part of the reason that people follow him. It's because he's an idea guy. He might not be the execution guy, but he's the idea guy.
He's an idea guy, and he likes fancy cloaks with two tails.
Yeah. Oh, so many fancy cloaks. Many fancy cloaks. Yeah. I do want to bring up, though, within this segment, though, that from both Ilex and from Hadrian, we get history on the Dryads. This is such an interesting, like, little like, ancestral race bit if we were, like, building an RPG.
Actually, one of my favorite sections of this entire, like, area.
Yeah.
We learn what they were made for, like, people we don't have to feed for very long times in space. I think, and maybe I'm misreading this because it's not like a specific line, but there's an implication here that says that maybe dryads live longer like trees.
Yeah.
And they just exist for a very long time. And it's like, hey, we don't have to freeze them. We don't have to feed them. They'll just run our ships while we sleep. And I love the idea that they stopped getting made because they were stealing jobs from real working Americans.
Kind of, yeah. Right.
Absolutely insane. Like, you actually made the perfect type of person for space travel, but you only view them as slaves, and then they took jobs from people who wanted to be frozen intermittently to make money. And it's capitalism all the way down, baby.
Well, and some people were like, also, we don't want to make slaves anymore, so we'll employ them, but also we can't breed more because we don't want to be responsible for breeding them.
Exactly.
So then they're just slowly dying out from the population.
I'm like, it's such a weird moral quandary.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you just not make any more? Do you get? I mean, I would say maybe give them the genome to make more of themselves and let them pollinate. Exactly. Yeah. Like, give them the ability to make more dryads, and then just like let there be a weird spacefaring species that's better than you, but they don't want that, and so like,
bizarrely, yeah, right,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, hey,
with
you could probably save money by just hiring dryads who were working independently to do everything else. I'm sorry, you made them. You got to live with that. Like, I think that's what really rubs me the wrong way on the Empire, and it's most of their genome work is it's not that they made something and now that they got to live with that. They're like, we made it and we don't like it, and now we control it. I'm like, nah.
Right.
If you're gonna do weird gene shit, let it rip.
Right.
Like, live with the consequences. Maybe you're not in power anymore. Maybe you made something too cool. I don't know. Elevate that shit.
Made something so cool. Ilex is like the coolest race introduced thus far. Like, she's a homunculus, of course. The dryads are like not an alien, but they are an alien species in a weird way. Like,
as much as Hadrian is,
I guess. But
for sure.
I mean, they're not naturally occurring. That's the one thing that I think is.
Neither is Hadrian.
No, for sure. I'm not suggesting that he is, but like,
Oh yeah, I'm just saying she
Yeah.
is as human as Hadrian. I very much so stick. I think
Yeah,
Saltis being so early in the series is very intentional.
oh, entirely.
It tells us right now, this second, Hadrian's not a fucking human. Honestly, the only humans you're going to meet in this series are like Cat and Polino and Switch.
And the museum Catholics, like
yeah,
so far.
exactly. Like those are people. Side with them. If at any point you're presented with a person, like that's who's probably the person you should be rooting for, and I will kill them probably.
Yeah, he even like compares this to like her fey nature to like Rhea's cave with like Zeus and like the original, again, like a full pull from Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Here, therein, in the history of the emperors that ended their enslavement.
It's also like there's the weird, interesting thing with Fae where I'm like, are we talking about which Fae are we talking about? But it's fine.
I think it's
because then he jumps into like Greek mythology. I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
so
I think
like,
very specifically. I mean, spelled F-U.
We're not talking Celtic. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah, actually, if I think about it, can I think of there are very few Celtic pulls, I think, in this entire series. It's very Greek leaning as well.
Very Greek, yeah.
More interestingly, though, than that, Ilex talks about the Exalted as beyond chimeras and instead more machine than man at this point. And Hadrian says, but they are human, to which Ilex says more than me, as the sort of like somber moment, and he shuts that thought down immediately, talking back to her, to which she smiles and replies, I'm just a little bit more tree than the rest of you. And that's like an interesting, again, like a transhuman conversation.
I do actually have to. I've been joking about Saltis this whole time. This one is actually an important pull from Saltis.
Yeah.
I think it's such a huge character growth moment from we're both creatures of the tubes to you're as human as me. This shows me that Hadrian has actually taken Saltis's words to heart to a degree. Decided that, we're like, this shows me that Hadrian does mentally at least understand.
Yeah, but and again, to get to a point that we've debated over the course of this episode, like this is where like some of that like pro transhumanism shows from Hadrian, where he's like, no, you're not you. Like I like you.
As long as
that's where it's like, buddy.
As long as it's from a natalist and not from a bone cutter.
Yeah, actually, at this point, so far, like that is like the hard line to some degree. Is you were born this way, right?
Yeah, if you were born this way, then that's how you were born. But if you change it later, fuck you.
Right. Yeah. So far.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I do love that like subtle somber moment where she says,
really
just a little bit more tree than the rest of you. And every time that just makes my
sweet. It's so sweet. I'm just a little more tree.
Yeah. You're just a little dryad girl. You're just you got some bark.
Just, whenever the dryads get together, it takes a very long time to say anything. Because in olden Tish, it takes a very long time to say.
Well, but I think that he's also referencing intentionally like Tolkien there, being like the fact that like they were used and they were more prevalent before and now they're gone. Like I do think that that's an adjacent Tolkien reference, being like, hey, before common, now dying out.
Yeah, and he's got a shepherd of the forest on his ship.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
So that said, to round out our chapter here, the ship lands with some physical explanation as to how the ship gravity works with inertial dampeners before everyone is spooked by someone knocking at the doors. They'll line up troops at the doors, this bay door that's happening in response. Hadrian and Volca, despite his protest, make it to the door to see the walking engine of metal arms and more wheel around and in as it creeps and crawls as Nazareno, our little boy spider machine, enters and explains that he is to be their pilot. I am your pilot.
All right, look, here's the thing. These last two chapters rip. I think they're so fucking cool. I don't know how much I have to say about them, but I just gotta say, we're in the weird shit. Like, I was having a good fucking time. We got a weird little robot pilot that's maybe a little boy, but maybe not. I don't know. Yeah.
It's good. It's fun.
The like knocking and everybody's freaking out. They're like, what is that? And then it happens, and then like that sounds like knocking, and they're like, "Can we get eyes? Can we get eyes on the airlock?" And they're like, "No." And we're like, "Oh my god, it's so stressful. It's so well written." Mm-hmm. And then they open it, and like just the arms like
when they crawl in.
Yeah, it's just arms
Yeah.
first, just a bunch of arms and shit, and then the creature pulls itself in, and then it's like, "Hey, Hattie, how you doing?" You know, that's not the accent at all, but it's fun.
I know
that's
that
just
the description disputes this, but I do imagine it being, you know, the like baby monster from Toy Story, where it's like
yes,
the baby
yeah,
half of, like,
on the
spiders.
spider body, yeah,
Absolutely. That's the first thought that I have in my mind. I'm like, this is that. Like, this is absolutely that monster.
I will say
manifests.
this character is one of those few misses I feel from Rukin.
Yeah.
And it's just like he's described as young, but he just like kind of sounds generally like maybe like South Asian. I don't know. I'm like,
yeah, he's given a very like kind of nondescript affectation in a lot of ways. And I'm expecting something a little bit more higher toned, or like
yeah,
and like
like
it doesn't need to even be so affected, but it's like,
yeah, it could be like,
huh.
welcome to March Station. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly
something that sounds like a little excited with a little higher
Right.
tone and excited. But with that said, this character fucking rocks. As soon as they got here, I was like, oh man, I'm so excited for the back half of this book. And we're not even halfway through. I think we're like a quarter at this point. But
yeah, about quarter to a third, right there.
This character showed up, and we did stuff with this character that we'll talk about in the next section. But like, what a cool fucking weird ass. Like, actually, we're stretching the bounds of whenever I read a novel, I want them to do shit. They're like, hey, I can afford this live action. You know, like.
Well, and this is another great example of like, this works in animation way better.
Way
just in
better.
theory.
And that's I want a, like a wacky, crazy character where you just describe some shit and I don't have to understand what you mean, but it seems weird as fuck in my brain. And this is one of those, you know, so.
Yeah, this is his own kind of creation. This is his own kind of monster. So with that, we'll get into the Enigma of Hours and more time with Nazareno. Hadrian immediately relates to this demon to something grim out of Greek myth, comparing him to Kharn, the ferryman of souls to Hades across the Arsharon, as it were, which is one of the three rivers within. That's fine. And it's definitely shocking and different than anything else that we've experienced as it moves by clamping its arms and pulling itself along rails and otherwise. Octavia warns the thing off of giving it access, but it clearly had access before it got on.
Yeah, he's like, I already got access, baby.
Yeah.
He's like,
Really
no,
just
I
nice
already
to me.
have all your secrets. Can I fly you your ship?
Yeah. I'm asking you, I'm actually going to, and I already am, but like, for the record, I just need for you to agree with me that this is the way it's going to go.
And I feel like there's an implication there
She's
that's
like,
never
babe,
explicitly said, where it's
babe.
like, I have all of the information you're worried about. I am flying your ship. If you say no, that's okay. That's when we're going to kill you and salvage your ship.
Right, exactly. Like this.
Do you want to do what we agreed to, or are we going to be pirates?
I mean, it's either that or they do actually eject the ship, but it feels like they eject the ship to harvest the ship. You know what I mean? Like they kick it
exactly.
out
They're like,
per the
oh,
terms of
hey,
service.
look, a ship.
Right, exactly. Per the terms of service, we ejected your ship for it to be harvested.
Yeah. Oh, it's been ejected. Oh no, harvesters are coming.
Oh no, we're the only ones who know the location. And we know
Only
how much
one
fuel
person
you
could have stopped that, and that was you, and you
That was
didn't.
you being not a
Like,
fucking idiot.
It feels very fucking threatening to me, but in a very friendly way.
Because it's from like a fucking childhood boy. He's just a little guy, you know?
You know, with no context, if this was the first lot, this kind of feels like just like a bank showed up and gave you a bunch of money.
Right. You should
And they're
maybe
like,
question the
"Hey."
bank. Yeah.
And then maybe we'll ask for something later. You know, like-
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna have that feeling. He's like, hey, can I hack in? I'm hacked in, by the way.
I actually
Can hack in?
already have, for the record. You have no choice in this.
Yes, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
by the way, the world is doing what I say it does.
Yeah, I've already done this.
Do you want to say yes? Or...
Have we discussed how many of the Matrix movies you watched? Have you watched
I've watched all but the fourth
all but
one.
Resurrections or Animatrix?
I've watched Animatrix. I've
Okay.
watched 1, 2, and 3, but I did
Okay,
not watch.
you've not watched Resurrections.
No.
That would be a fun bonus episode.
I'll watch it.
Resurrections is my favorite outside of the original.
That's so
But I
interesting.
think it's better
my
than the original in my mind.
friend who got me into the Matrix, who
Yeah.
loves the Matrix, it's his favorite series,
Mhm.
hates Resurrections with a burning passion.
I understand, and I get why, but also he's wrong, and that's fine.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. It's just he's a person who's usually pretty down with movies. We agree with each other on most movies. And I think there's 2 movies that person hates, and I hate one of them, and I haven't seen the other one.
Which is the other? What's the one?
Love and Thunder.
Oh, that's a correct take. Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking hate that movie. So.
Yeah. I would say that is in my least favorite Marvel movies without even...
That is
like
my least favorite Marvel movie. That is just my least favorite Marvel movie.
I don't think that it's worse than Thor 2, actually, but...
We have a conversation to have there. Thor 2 has redeeming qualities and some mistakes. But within the framework of what was happening around it, it seems really bad. It's actually an okay movie. There's some cool stuff in it.
Fair. I did rewatch them in 2022, 2023. The only thing we'll give Love and Thunder is like Christian Bale's performance is fucking outstanding.
Yeah, if he was in more than 2 scenes.
He's got 6 scenes, I think, in total, but that's not good. That's not good.
Fact
That's
that
not
you
good.
can count them on one hand.
It's not good. 6 scenes with other characters that matter, I should say. But yeah, which is tough. Yeah, I don't disagree. For the record, that movie does not rank highly on the scale of anything.
I will say I was giving high ass rankings to bad Marvel movies for a long time because I was just in the sauce and I was so into it.
Nah, Love and Thunder is like a 3 out of 10.
And then Love and Thunder was bad enough to break the fucking spell. And I don't know if I've like cared about Marvel since that movie came out. I've watched movies I liked, but it broke the spell. Like it actually managed to have me be like, oh.
I think for me, that was
these are
Ant-Man
bad.
3. Because I loved Ant-Man 1 so much and was pretty good with Ant-Man 2. And then Ant-Man 3 was like, I love a lot of this.
Weird thing, I can defend Ant-Man 3.
Died. Like, if you would have died,
Love and Thunder.
Paul Rudd would have died. If our guy would have died, perfect movie.
Pretty cool. Pretty good movie. Yeah.
No, that would.
A lot of people like to talk about the CGI, but I'm like, it's supposed to look goofy.
Yeah, it's supposed to. It's a microcosm of a universe. Like, who gives a shit? I was totally fine
Oh
with that.
no, also, the guy from the first movie looks funny. He's MODOK, baby.
Because he's fucking MODOK, dude.
That's
you
what
just
he
don't know what
looks like.
MODOK looks like. Yeah, he's a fucked up dude with a big face. That's just what it is. Anyway, okay, we don't need to get into this too much further than that.
We're still here.
I do want to say, I do just want to mention, Love and Thunder sucks ass. It's in my bottom 3 for sure. Marvel movies, no question. But the Gore the God Butcher scenes are like 10 out of 10 gold.
The black and white situation, or like not black and white, but the desaturated scenes are like fucking cool.
Yeah, any scene that Christian Bale is in that whole movie fucking rules.
It just makes me think that there was a good movie filmed and then something happened. Like
and it was cut and like he got interrupted and like Taika Waititi wasn't doing a good job and like lost track and whatever.
But like Christian Bale is killing it. And I'm like, there's no way this is all that was filmed for this character.
Right. Because there are also extra scenes that you can get on the version.
At the same time, you could ask that about like Ronan the Accuser. Like, was Lee Pace is killing it the whole time, and that's a good movie he's in, but at the same time that's like not much of a character. Was there more to that character? I don't know.
There was. I've seen the extra. It's fine. Anyway, because you can just get that on like extra credits and things like that. But I do want to just say I read those Thor comics because I love the Null and Gore the God Butcher storyline. So
I also read most of it, not all of it.
I really like that idea, and so part of me loves that idea was manifested, but is also disappointed in the way that it didn't.
I think the fact that I knew that idea before it happened made me more upset.
Right.
I also think Christian Bale's a good enough actor. You could have thrown him in prosthetics and actually had Gore the God Butcher, but you know, it's fine.
But he looks like the like original Gore the whole time, which is cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
I have strong feelings. That's the only movie in the Marvel universe I actively hate.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's definitely my bottom 3.
What are your 1 and 2?
I was saying that loosely to not need to think about it too hard.
I mean, which other ones are in your bottom 3? I guess.
Yeah, I really didn't like the. Yeah, come back to me.
Here's the thing. I got an immediate answer. It's Thor: Love and Thunder. You don't have an immediate answer.
Thor: Love and Thunder is in that ranking. I think it's Hulk. Upon rewatch, is like.
I mean, I guess like Edward Norton Hulk.
But I love Edward Norton as Hulk.
That's like it wasn't even a Marvel movie.
Work.
That was just like retconned into the Marvel universe. You know.
Well, it wasn't, because the end credit scene is actually
Tony Stark, but that was without technical permission.
It's Samuel L. Jackson. Like it was, the intent was there. Anyway, it doesn't work as well, and like there are a number of different plot problems that just don't work out. Then I'd probably go Love and Thunder, and then probably Thor 2, which is so shitty because like Thor 1 I think is completely underrated, and Thor
1's really
fucking incredible. Like,
and so Ragnarok's one of the better ones. Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
Anyways, let's jump back in. Thor's the weirdest movie trilogy in the world. Where you're like, great, bad,
but I do like parts of Thor 2.
Fantastic, worst. Yeah, and then if you add in all the other movies he's in, you're like, but it's such a mixed bag of a character.
Love and Thunder also does such a disservice to the Guardians of the Galaxy in the way that it plays them off too, which is the other reason that it kind of like blows even harder, considering the way that Guardians 3 goes. So that said, Hadrian looks out to the stars and sees something darker yet, as he imagines it, seeing out into this perhaps howling dark, perhaps eternal darkness, who knows? As Nazareno has taken control of the ship, Hadrian reflects, darkness fled me, and filled me with a sense of foreboding, such as the old Florentine must have felt standing on the gunwale, of Kharn's ship as they crossed the Archeron. Which is
so glad I didn't have to read that. Yeah.
Obviously another reference to Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
Dante with Charon. With this skeletal, I mean, you've played Hades, right? You know Charon.
No, I'm aware
Chiron,
of Dante's Inferno,
whatever
in general.
So like you're waiting out there. You're there on that ship, right?
It's almost like they enter this black space, but then eventually it changes and they see like these dots of red. And then there's like this red rising. Until like eventually like the lights grow and they like bring on like this kind of like golden sun, and then
so the ship
until it highlights to a morning star
is massive.
and eventually they realize they're within this like metal ship, they're within this like iron gold, you know.
How are you gonna make Lightbringer work?
Well, because the lights turn on and they're like, oh my God, I'm in a city. And this ship has brought the lights to them. And they're like in a light bringer.
All right. And Dark Age made sense. I don't need Dark Age. I got it beforehand.
And they realize they're just stuck within the red god. You know?
That was the worst of all of them that you tried. But that's fine.
Yeah,
we have so little concept.
I don't know anything about red god. I can't
so say we all. That said, the ship of the Enigma of Hours is something strange and foreboding that we've spoken a little bit about within the show, which is like this 100-mile-long ship that seems to cloud in other ships. We also get this description of the ability for it to pass through space at a faster rate than what Hadrian believes imaginable. But Volker goes, nah, bitch.
We'd be doing that.
Other people are like, nah, we'd be doing that. Maybe not this fast, but we'd be doing that. No problem.
Yeah, like that's a little faster than us, but like that makes sense that maybe someone goes a little faster than us. But
the Normans are like, we've never heard of that either, and like they're like, half the ship is like, no, we get it.
Yeah, I do love that, and I love that the Sea Elves are probably sitting there being like, "This shit's slow."
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nas is repeating a terms and conditions sheet to the group, which is just so fun and funny. You know, like, please accept my terms before we continue. Yeah.
God damn. And as we pull in here, also like, we're in a city. It's 100 miles long, and that's weird as shit. You know, like.
A city ship 100 miles long.
Ship. We're in the Death Star, baby. We've talked about it a little bit up to this point, but And this
It's
is
more
way
than a
bigger than
Death
the Death
Star.
Star.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the entire Central Valley of California where I grew up.
Right. This is a Warhammer ship at this point. Like, this is
Yeah.
massive.
This is Bakersfield to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
that's fucking crazy. And here we are. We're here now. I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it's great.
If I had a suggestion for the crew based on where we end this week, stay on the ship.
Stay on the ship. Stay with the crew.
They probably don't do that, but stay on the fucking ship.
All right. Well, that said, with all of this out of the way, next week we're reading Becalmed in Motion through In the House of Kharn Sagara.
In the House of Kharn Sagara, I don't have these chapter names because although I do own the book, I've been doing this one purely audio.
Right, which strangely in the audiobook,
for some weird fucking reason,
it wasn't
on the
numbers.
last one, but
right.
on this one, it's just numbers.
I don't think it is for the rest of the series, for the record. I think it's
just this one.
Yeah.
And it's weird as hell. And so I did not know that we're going to hit a chapter named In the House of Kharn Sagara.
Yeah.
That's something. I would have pegged that the second I opened the fucking index.
I made mention of this last week. I was like, I think you're going to be like very intentionally led by the next chapter into what you think. But I
mean, I assume it's just more waxing poetic.
Yeah. This pirate planet that was the old planet of Kharn Sagara,
Yeah, but I do think like a really intentional thing that we did mention a little bit, like this will take 3 weeks and everyone's like, huh? And then that's fine. Like that was the biggest like takeaway for me on this section. And I just want to reiterate that. But
do you assume that most of next week is going to be those next 3 weeks?
No.
Okay.
I think I don't know.
It's not a bet.
I think the first episode of next week, the first chapter of next week will be like immediate from right now. Just gonna like continue this, and then the next one will be like 12 weeks later. I don't know. That's my guess.
And then
based on how this shit works.
Yeah, I know.
And then it'll be 18 weeks previously. And then it'll be like 48 years later.
And then 1400 when we cut forward to like a weird interstitial
and then
chapter.
We'll do like a weird thing with a squirrel and like the prehistoric era. And then
a pocket bell bird, of course.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, I have no fucking clue. I don't know what he's I don't know what he's doing.
Cool.
I will say, like, I'm never like while reading, like, this makes no sense. That's crazy. But this is one of the least predictable structurally books ever.
Series. We'll go so far as to say up until this point.
Yes,
right. Structurally, it does not follow, like, I mean,
I don't know what he's gonna. You're like, what?
Right.
What's coming next? I'm like, fucking words, I assume.
Fucking, I'm gonna get some sentences. When
you
let me read the next sentence, you asshole. So that said, thank you for listening to this week's podcast. You can find us on social media, Words and Whiskey, on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, feel free to shoot us an email, wordsandwhiskeyshow@gmail.com. Also, I just want to throw a shout out again. I think we did once to a patron of whom has supported us reading Musashi, which I'm very excited to read. We'll be doing. It'll be very fun.
Miyamoto.
Yeah. Check us out
That's
at patreon.com/words and whiskey. You can support us there through Discord, through anything else. We've got 2 tiers effectively, but join in on the conversation right there. You can get all the bonus shit that we talk about all the time, including like a lot of TV show thoughts, mostly.
We do like talking about TV.
Yeah.
We also like talking about our lives. And sometimes we talk about how sometimes people like listen to podcasts or watch videos and they don't leave reviews, and we talk about how like we would love to just like take those people and like get their blood and then just like sell it and then make fucked up versions of them that come haunt them in their dreams.
We love
but
that.
if you leave a 5-star review, we won't do that.
We won't do that for sure.
Yeah.
But we could. But we
If you
won't.
don't.
Yeah. So fucking
So just
do it.
look, leave a 5-star review to be safe. Just to be sure.
With that, dear viewer,
Listener,
there are endings. And this is one.
one of them.
One. Viewer, reader, listener. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.